can't get out of that habit. Are you ready?
Yeah.
You're all good? Okay. This is Madison Advisory Budget Committee. It's Thursday, November 18th at 6 p.m. and we are in session. Welcome, everyone.
It's
Thank
not
you very
Thursday.
much. It's not Thursday? No, it's Tuesday. Oh, why does that say Thursday? Ooh, both of us, Linda, we missed it. Tuesday, November 18th, right?
I read that, didn't even look at it, didn't even notice it.
I didn't notice it either.
We were hopeful, we were wishful that it was
Right?
Thursday.
Thank you, Doug. Oh my
I
God.
didn't read it, but I heard you.
It's probably still from that October meeting that was on
On that
September
Thursday,
11th, we did a Thursday one.
So probably all of them have said Thursday. Roll call, we have Nan Bartlett to my left, Doug McAllister, Sharon Schilling, Deb Parsons, who is the representative from the school board, Jake Bowie, who is the representative from the select board. We also have Linda Shackford, who is the town administrator and who helps us take notes and keeps us on track. Thank you very much. We are missing tonight Joe Dame, who is excused. So, Doug, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first thing that we need to do is take a look at the meeting minutes from November 4th. Has everybody had a chance to read them?
Yes.
Does anybody besides me have any comments or corrections or changes? I just have a couple. I'll let you know. Down in the rec department budget review piece, under the first bullet that says the technology line increased significantly due using a new platform, it should say to, please. Under the bullet that says an 8.5% increase in the summer counselor line is mostly increases in hours. I'd like to clarify that and make sure that we add that those hours are for Christmas holidays and other times. They're not specifically just for summer. Because the line is called summer counselor, but they're not just summer hours. That's it on that page. I don't have anything on the next page. On the last page under revenue report, the last bullet said the old DPW loader was sold as municipal property. I'd like to add the $474,000, just so people don't have to go look it up. That's correct, right? Was the
17,000.
Or I'm sorry, 17,174.
I was gonna say.
That's one hell of a loader.
For that old piece
Right, yeah.
of dung that they moved to Texas, right? That would be nice. Does anybody else have any corrections or comments or additions or deletions? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved?
And the second,
One second.
okay, all in favor?
Oh, yeah.
All right, they pass, they're approved. Thank you. Put that over there. What's next? Any public comment? I see another selectman. No, and Mr. Shackford and Mr. Brooks, no public comments, you're just here for your sections. Okay. Well, then we will move on to DPW, fire, EMD, elections, and financial budgets. Mr. Shackford. You have the floor.
The only changes from last year, well, there'd be an increase because where they want to hire or we would like to add an additional person at the transfer station. We tried it with 2 and it's not working out too good, and John Aruda has requested a part-time person, 20 hours a week for 52 weeks would come out to $26,000. That's a 19.23 at the transfer station.
So, adding this position, it's obviously, so it's 20 hours a week, so it's a part-time person, so there's no benefits.
Correct.
The question I do have is when we go through the process of adding positions to the town, this is a brand new position, this is not a position that already exists?
It did exist.
It did exist, yeah.
So this is a vacant position?
Yeah, but I'm trying to think, it's 2 or 3 years ago, when we had 3 people there. I guess only been 2 years now. There was another part-time person there. They left, and we haven't filled it since. And we tried it with only 2 people for the last 2 years. And it's pretty difficult.
So it's really not seasonal. It's-
No.
It says seasonal, but it's really not.
Well, part-time,
Part-time, but not seasonal.
right, but it's,
But they're lumped
They're
together,
lumped together, part-time
part-time
and
slash
seasonal,
seasonal
yeah.
as a
okay.
time, as opposed to a part-time seasonal person.
Okay.
And I don't know if we need to get into this now, but that part-time labor seasonal, I mean, we could switch that, we could take out that seasonal thing, cause really don't have, yes, we use guys, the part-time guys, more so during the summertime. Then we use them in the wintertime, obviously, but they're not, they do work all 4 seasons, so.
What do their job descriptions say? Do their job descriptions say that they're seasonal? Because if the job descriptions
No.
say they're seasonal, then
Yeah,
those need to
no.
be changed as well
Yeah.
and updated.
They would have to, yeah, we would have to change their job descriptions. And I gotta be honest with you, I haven't read the job description in quite some time, since we hired these last 2 guys that we hired.
It's the general maintenance position,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it,
specifies seasonal or not.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't, yeah.
Well, we'd probably have to go back and check
I'll
to
take a
make
look
sure,
at that,
because I
yeah.
don't, what I don't wanna do is hire somebody part-time and their job description says it's a seasonal job and then have to justify why they're year-round part-time as opposed to just summer.
Yeah.
We wanna make sure all of these,
Yeah, 4 seasons, yeah. Those, yeah, year round, part-time. It should say that, cause it's not a start date and an end date on the job descriptions.
so this is a full person for 20 hours per week, or, well,
Yeah.
and they're not splitting their time anywhere else, they're gonna work anywhere else in town or anything? They're just 20 hours at the transfer station?
As far as I know, right now. So, I mean, it's kinda like, over the next month. And that's the thing, we're kinda gonna be rotating in and out. So we're gonna be rotating in and out of the transfer station for the next month, cause one of the guys is going on vacation. One of the guys that works at the transfer station, Eric, is going on vacation for the next month, going to Florida. This is the first time he's taken off since he's been here. And he's part-time and all that, and so to fill in, to have one guy there is just not, so we're gonna, the highway guys, and I don't even know if in our job descriptions it says that we fill in at the transfer station. So, I mean, pretty much everybody at the DPW has to do everybody else's job when it comes time to do that, so. And I think that's addressed in the job descriptions as, at the direction of the DPW director, you need to do what you're.
You need to do what you're tasked to do.
Yeah. Whether it be, because it's all one, Public Works involves the transfer station, the highway, different stuff, so. I think there was that caveat when we last redid the job descriptions, it says, you gotta do what you gotta do.
When,
I don't know if that's
do you know when that
included on-
was? I'm
I-
curious.
Well, part of what I'm thinking about is, part of the reason that we revamped this to have a DPW section with admin and everything was that the former director wanted to have it so that this wasn't divvied up already. He could use these hours wherever it was necessary amongst those 3 different departments versus having a line for how much was gonna be used out of the transfer station, how much was gonna be used out of rec, and how much out of DPW. It was all put into that same admin thing to be spread around and used when it was needed and necessary.
Yeah, I see no problem with that.
Okay. Anything else?
No, on that
Virtually
particular one,
nothing. 33% in salt, that's due to price changes in salt?
yeah, so, and I'll take the hit for it. I mean, we had two mild winters in a row where we didn't have to use a lot of salt, and I was trying to cut the budget last year, and we average about 550 tons of salt per year. And I've checked around to all the surrounding areas, and it's really, to say 550 pounds, it really depends on lane miles and things like that, what you're supposed to put out. We are actually below average, as far as the town of Madison, and what we use for salt uses. I really try to be cautious of salt use. It's not good for the environment, but it is really a necessary evil. But nonetheless, I did underestimate, 2 mild winters in a row, and last year we had a really bad winter where we needed to use a lot of salt. More than usual, and we still only used, I think, 560 tons. So it was a little over average, but I had estimated low. I only think I estimated 4. And plus, there was a huge price increase, as there is every year for salt. I think it went up
$7 a ton?
how much?
Seven,
Yeah, I think it was $7 a ton from last year to this year.
And you're looking for a 20% increase in the vehicle repair line?
Yeah, again, I'll take the hit with it. It's really hard to predict when things break. The repair line is in there, and we try to fix everything we can that we have the ability to fix. But some things we just can't do, and especially now with a lot of the equipment is electrical. I mean, a lot of the software is proprietary, and you have to take it back to the dealership, wherever you bought it, that particular brand, to get it fixed and get it worked on. I mean, I can tell you that we just got a bill today. There was a problem with our Kenworth wheeler, and we had to take it to Hilton's Heavy Equipment Repair to get fixed. We tried to fix it, we couldn't figure it out, and that was, got the bill today, that was $7,700 for.
And that's not reflected in these
That
numbers,
is not reflected.
in the drawdown, since the bill just came in today. So that'll bump this to 55,000, which will put you over budget
Yeah.
on this particular
Well,
line.
I think a couple things will come out from the ETF.
Yes, $16,000.
Yeah, the plow and the wing, or the plow frame and the wings.
Yeah.
That was in whichever line it was.
And that's what I always, and again, I've talked about this before, and that's what I'm hoping that heavy equipment ETF is for these unexpected fixes, these big things that we couldn't possibly see coming. But it costs $7,000 to change a muffler in one of those trucks.
We're in the wrong business.
So has iWorks helped you at all with regard to being able to perhaps identify?
I don't think so personally, and talking with Dave, I mean, maybe it will at some point when we get caught up to the point, where we're in a good rotation. It can give us a little bit of insight, but I mean, I think it's, and Sharon and I met the other day, and and I showed some of the things, and it does show you like when things are getting old, but I mean, that's common sense. When things get old, they break, and you gotta put more effort and repair into it, and you can have a computer tell you, or you can see it, from day to day, and it's a tool that helps us. I don't know how much it's really. I don't think any computer can predict when something's gonna have a devastating. But I can tell you, we had that truck, that particular truck that we just spent $7,700 on. We just got you know, we had that one year, I think it had a couple hundred miles on it, or maybe 1,000 miles on it or something, and we blew the motor in it. That cost us $75,000. That was definitely unexpected, you know?
It wasn't under warranty?
Nope,
They wouldn't
they wouldn't cover it.
Because it was wrapped too high.
But that's what, definitely the heavy highway transfer,
Yes.
heavy highway ETF is
And-
absolutely, I would think, for some of those
And I'll
things.
tell you, as far as the way that we have done the DPW budget, just all budgets over and the way we did it last year, I mean, there was things that I wished maybe I could have put in the ETF, but I had enough money left over in the budget, so I could take it out of budget lines, and that's kind of the way that we've always done it, and so we don't have to go, you know, make huge increases, but that ETF is kind of like a fallback when these catastrophic things happen, or, I don't wanna say catastrophic, that's a bad word, but unexpected things come up that.
Cost $10,000 a wop.
Yeah. So those are 3 lines, and, I mean, I could go up, you know, you could add well more than, the $10,000 or the $12,000 to, not 12,000, the, $10,000 to the vehicle repair line, but like I said, I would just soon keep the budget a little bit better, more in line, and not, and use the ETF for the big expenses.
Mhm.
That's my, you know, easier way of.
With regard to salaries, the DPW foreman, I know that that's a singular position, but with regard to the full-time hourly salaries, and it says 4.42, is that 4.42 across the board, or is that an average as to what?
That's
you've
an
managed to do?
average, no, it was not 4 point, it actually came out, I'm trying to figure out why it came out to 4.42, but, it was really, I thought it was about 3.5 for everybody. But understand that that's not written in stone anyway, that's what I'm proposing, I'm still gonna do reviews on everybody, and go and present them to the Board of Selectmen, and, that's what I've proposed.
Can I ask you to go back and take a look at that line and see if it could be closer to 3.5?
I'm quite sure it is, but
Okay.
I think what it was, when I was doing the math, so I think I gave it like everybody like $1, and it worked out to, so for the guys that are on the lower end, it's more than 3.5, and the
Right.
guys that are on the higher end, it's
It's
a little
less.
bit less than 3.5.
I mean, I'm sure you're aware of that, and I'm always on this bandwagon, is wherever we can cut costs, because continuing to have a budget, a town budget that increases and increases and increases and increases becomes eventually unsustainable, and or the taxes become so high that it starts to force people to decide to sell their houses, especially older people. You know, the older citizens and taxpayers who then can no longer afford the property taxes for living in town, and I've been trying to do my best to explain the difference between an assessed rate and a tax rate, so that people understand the town can't charge you any more than what the tax budget is, but holding the tax budget steady or decreasing it alleviates some of that pressure, especially now when things like the average cost of living increase is less than 3%. It's only 2.8% for Social Security increases. Those cost of living increases are under 3%. So, but yet the cost of everything else is way above that. The cost to Medicare is, going to be 10%, I think. But yet those individuals are only getting a 2.8% pay increase, and so where we can hold the line, and I'm happy to see if there's a $500 reduction here, $1,000 reduction here. I'm looking at this. I didn't spend this money. I didn't necessarily need it. I did a really good job. My department did a really good job with regard to holding down supply lines, you know, do we need to buy, I know your tool line went over, but, I'm sure there's a good reason for that. But holding that down and bringing that because overall, we're looking at 5.97% increase in the DPW's budget. If that, pulling that down to something closer to zero makes me happy. I'm sure it makes the citizens happy. I'm sure it makes the selectmen happy. So, and like I said with you with the CIP, I'm more than happy to sit down and muddle through some of this and help and ask questions.
Yeah,
where
I'm
you can-
certainly open to any of that, and, you know, the tool line and
Yeah,
on that, and my logic on that was, so we bought a sandblaster, that was, you know, $5,000. And my whole thought process on that is, I'm really, you know, seeing what I've seen over the last few years, I mean, we really should, the plows especially, I mean, we just bought 2 new wings, and I think that's what set me off at, you know, $4,000 or $5,000, I can't remember what they were, $4,000 or $5,000 a piece, you know, and there was no maintenance being done on those plows, and, you know, they run in salt and magnesium and the trucks, and they really should be sandblasted every year and repainted and primed to make them last longer. And I thought a $5,000 investment on the tool line, and we have done it sporadically over the years, and it's going to Coleman's and renting them, you know, and did the cost benefit analysis. And if you don't have the sandblaster there, going and getting renting one, and then you still gotta buy the media to go in it. It was, you know, to have one, and those should theoretically last forever, you know, a sandblaster, as long as you got a pump to, you know, blow the media, that it was, you know, long-term to take care of the stuff that we have to make it last, instead of rusting out. That's why the tool line was over.
Does anybody else have any questions?
No.
No? I'm the only one?
You hit them all.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Josh, I appreciate
If you
you.
would love to, and again, if you wanna pick a day to go over this or
Yeah.
sometime in the future,
We have the CIP meeting on Thursday, so let me get through that and then I'll get in touch with you. So this combined with that, when we get them together, then we can sit down and go through. I can come back to the garage and you and Dave and I or
we've been working
whoever.
hard on that.
Yeah. And that, they're not easy, it's not easy. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you guys,
And you?
I'm excused.
Absolutely. Unless you wanna stay and listen to Mike.
No, you can't go, you
I
have
listen
to
to 'em
stay.
See you guys.
See ya.
Thanks for the support.
All right there. Mr. Brooks, which one would you like to start with?
Well, I got elections first. It doesn't make any difference to me.
Maybe go through the easy ones or the smaller, shorter ones. Okay, elections first. We have 3 elections in 2026, I hear.
Correct.
Okay,
And I know it's a large percentage increase, but it's not a lot of dollars increase, but it is what it is. And it's a couple different variables. The vote tally setup line, that line is where we get all the programming and stuff for the
for the machines.
machine, and we are 2 years ago made a decision, well, they were sunsetting the AccuVote machine, so either we had to go back to hand counting or replace it with one of the 2 options approved by the Election Law Commission, and the selectmen voted to, and town meeting appropriated money to do it, and we were able to, instead of spending $7,000, which is what it was, the state somehow came up with half the money. So we got the new machine for only $3,500, which is a good thing. And so that $3,500 went back to the
General fund.
yeah, however it travels to get back to that unreserved fund. But with the new machine, we will be, as part of the purchase, there's contracted demonstration/training involved, and the gentleman is looking, the town of Tamworth has the same machine, a couple towns around us do, and he's trying to set up a time after the first of the year when he can do a large-scale training/demonstration and kill multiple birds with one visit to the North Country. So to be determined when that's gonna be, but that's gonna happen. And our maiden flight for the new machine will be this year's local election, which is coming up in March, so.
So the $12.92 that we expended in 2025, that had nothing to do with these new vote tally machines.
No, that's the old one.
Okay, so with it being $6,000, are you proposing that it's sort of 2,000 per election, or is, I don't know if there's a set cost for setup and.
There's two things in there. It's all, obviously, the whole page is election related, but the vote counting, the ballot counting tabulator, that is the biggest piece. But also in there, they changed the law where the state provides the accessible voting system, which is it's supposed to address all manner of handicap. There's headphones for people who can't see, there's a tablet for people who can't hear, all method, a keyboard, you can push the screen, whatever. It's supposed to be to allow anybody with, no matter what your disability, should you choose to want to vote without assistance, you're able to use that device. They changed the law mandating it. It was only allowed to be used at state/federal elections because the state provided all of the hardware, the whole shebang. But now they've mandated that we shall use it in every election. So there's additional money on this line to deal with the programming of that device, which we didn't have to deal with in years past. The first time we kind of voluntarily did it in our last election, because I kind of saw this coming. The legislation was there, and I would hate to have somebody walk in and say, I know you have this device, where is it? And I said, we paid $600 to have it programmed so that it could be not used, but
Right, but you never know, you
If-
don't know.
if I didn't have it there, 6 people wanted to use it, and then we got headlines in the Cowman Daily Sun, which I don't need. So the long and the short of it is, the multiple unknowns with the new machine, because I just don't have any experience with it, going with the best information they can provide me from the distributor, and again, forecasting the programming of that and the accessible voting device is the reason for the large increase in that line, driven by having 3 elections.
The supervisor's line,
Yep, over the past several years, the election line always goes ups and downs, but 3-4 years ago, we changed it so that there was kind of you could better explain why that line is what it is. Up until like 3-4 years ago, they got a fixed amount of, I can't even remember what it was.
yeah, a fixed stipend, no matter
Right.
how many
No
elections.
matter how many elections, so you could have one election, you got paid
$500.
whatever. And then you could have a year, the heavy year where you have 4 elections, you got paid the same.
Right.
And I tried to create a rhyme or a reason for it, so in the comments section, I honed in on what I label as a checklist session. If there's official checklist involved, then that was a mandatory event that needed to be compensated. And the reason that it's 5, knowing that we have 3 elections, because a lot of people don't think of it, take our town and school election. You have an official checklist, obviously, on Tuesday for ballot voting. We also have an official checklist on Saturday for town meeting, albeit by, hand counts or hand ballots. So for the town meeting, there's 2 checklist sessions. And then, I should have written them all down, but doing all the math, and we basically figured 10 hours at $25 an hour as the benchmark. So a checklist session was $250. And then, of course, the chairman, you can see, gets $250 more. And that has always been the point person that deals kind of more directly with whatever the Secretary of State's office is pushing onto them. And sometimes you just have to be able to answer the phone and drop everything and do whatever it is that they need you to do in that moment with regard to the database that the state maintains for elections. So the chairman gets a little bit more money for having to be available for that stuff. And also related to this line, again, several different laws with all of the swirling vortex that is politics in America these days. The Secretary of State has mandated at a minimum quarterly meetings of the supervisors of the checklist, regardless of anything. It's gonna be on the election calendar. Thou shalt meet on this date between, the whatever hours. It used to be that they just back up from an official election within 30 days. You had to have a session where people could come in and meet with you and register, change their registration, whatever the case may be. But they've actually mandated it by statute, so the
So it went
supervisors.
from, if you had no elections in a particular year, they probably would only have one meeting, to now they're
Well, right,
mandated
you'd
to have
never,
quarterly ones.
well, you'd never have none, but
Right.
yes, now the state is specifying, meeting schedule and stuff like that. Which, I don't know, we'll get through, it's gonna be the first year for it, see how it goes. And the sad part is the way that they've always operated, they've always had these sessions and so forth, and it's a rare occurrence where somebody shows up. Because let's face it, you can register and vote same day at the polls.
Right.
It's almost like, there's no reason to leave your house to go out, come down to town hall to meet with the supervisors on a weird date and time when you could do all your business right at the polling place. So, wait and see how it goes. But like I say, it's not their choice. They prefer to keep the old schedule that they
Right.
used to have. And that's pretty much on, I think the only other, seeing the problem that we had in the finance department, not a problem, but postage would increase 3 times this calendar year, which with the amount of, not to get too far off topic, the amount of mailings that we do in the clerk side of it with motor vehicle renewals and all that stuff, it's voluminous. And anticipating with, again, the current climate and everything, town meetings, local stuff is pretty quiet generally. Not a lot of absentee activity. I mean, not a lot, there's some, a population of snowbirds that are pretty active and they get their absentee ballots. But with state primary and a midterm election, anticipated a heavy amount of activity, and that translates into absentee ballots are several dollars to mail, if we have to mail them. So and it's a shot in the dark. You do the best we can. We looked back at prior years, tried to estimate volume based on the increase in the price, and landed at a $600 increase, but that's, again, it's driven by the number of elections. And you never know, are we gonna have a lot of absentee activity? I mean,
You don't know.
We did during COVID, that was the largest I think anybody had ever seen, but that was an unusual, well, the politics were unusual, but the pandemic circumstance
Right.
was another variable. So I don't know if we'll ever see that level again, but if we're not prepared for it, we'll not look good, so. And obviously, anything on this page that doesn't have to be spent will, and it'll just roll back.
The moderator stipend, I've been asking this of every department that has stipends. Is there an opportunity, I know it's not a lot, it's only $450, but because when we go through the drawdown, a lot of these stipends don't get paid until the end of the year. What you're actually looking at with regard to the drawdown of the budget is not, it's not completely accurate, because you haven't paid out some of the monies that could be paid out for services that have been rendered. Is there an opportunity to turn the moderator stipend, I would not turn it, but pay a portion of it out twice a year
Well,
instead of just the once a
and-
year?
and
I know it's not a lot.
Yeah, probably, I will be having conversation with the moderator with regard to the scheduled training with the machine, et cetera. And I know, you know, kinda, you can't ignore the man's generosity. He's never asked for an increase, and
No.
he's not doing it for the money, and he does a really decent job for us, but I think looking forward, we probably should look at that line similarly to the one below it for the supervisors. And there probably should be some
Per
kind of
election.
kind of a per election type of event-based compensation, whereby, you know, if you got through the deliberatives, well, town and school stuff is all kind of happens at the same time, but with the other elections, you could say, after town meeting in March, you could, you know, you could shave a portion of that off and
Right.
cut a check for that day's work or whatever. And so.
I just think it would be more representative of where we actually stand. And even if it was just after town meeting, he gets half of it, and then the other half comes at the end of the year for a little almost, and I know a lot of people like to push it off to the end of the year because it's kind of like a Christmas bonus for them a little bit because they get their stipend.
Right.
But again, for me, more accurately representing the status of the actual budget, I think it's better to cut some of those checks a little bit earlier. I know like the one for the fire department, you kind of have to do it at the end of the year because it's based on participation levels and you need the calculus for all of that. But for anything that's these other stipends, you know, even with the supervisors of the checklist, if you know that it's gonna be $47.50,
I mean-
pieces of it during the year.
Here-
It's a couple extra checks, I get it.
Theoretically, I mean, on this year's budget, obviously, all of their work is done.
It was done after the town meeting.
Well, in a manner of speaking,
Yeah.
but the impact of these other scheduled meetings, but again, that's not a checklist session, so
Right, so you could technically
Yeah.
pay out this entire $1,600
next week.
tomorrow, next week, whenever, right?
Now, it can't be tomorrow, but it could be next week.
Well, that's true. So, or even if you wanted to do at least half of it now and then half of it in a couple weeks, kind
Well,
of
it's kind of where we are, we're almost into December.
We're almost into
Might as well
December.
just-
cut the whole thing.
We can, well, we,
I'll let you two figure that out.
well, yeah, but right now, this year, we'll hold on to the cash that we have until I got the tax bills
Oh.
out to the printers today.
Oh,
So, wait until we get some flowing in before we flow any more out.
Yes.
Which is kind of what we're always mindful of throughout the year.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else from anybody on elections? No? Anything from you, Mike? Anything else that you want us to be aware of?
No,
No?
Not
Okay.
bad. The next one, I guess mine is, my printout seems to be alphabetical, so I got emergency management next.
Okay.
And I know you probably hear this from all department heads, but in all honesty, the increase on this budget is nothing that I can control. We deferred maintenance on one of the generators because we couldn't afford to do it this year. So we pushed it into next year's budget and added it to the line because the line had meaning. It was scheduled maintenance, And this was something that they found during the scheduled maintenance that we couldn't afford to pay for, which is what's driving that $2,300 increase on that one line. And I tried to soften it as much as I as much as I dared to. I lowered the communications and the supplies by $200 apiece. Again, not knowing this budget's kind of driven by catastrophic weather events. Hopefully we don't have any. If we don't, we won't spend it. But if we don't have any money here, we definitely will have something, and then we'd be scrambling to figure out how to cover it. But I mean, that's basically, that's that.
And same thing with the stipend for the emergency management director. It's not really a stipend, it's kind of a stipend and then a reimbursement of other.
Right, and we've had discussion, and basically, the way that we've described this to FEMA is the town of Madison is setting aside, prepared to pay for 100 hours of work at $25 an hour. If there's an event that requires it will happen. If it doesn't, we may not spend that in a year.
But it doesn't all happen in like one bulk thing at the end
No,
of the
no,
year.
no,
But
no,
is
no.
there a possibility that you take a look at in June at any hours that you spent, there was a winter storm or something,
Right.
and you can take some of that money
Right.
in June and do it twice a year or 3 times or 4
And
times?
not hard part, but it's for tracking purposes too, is anytime that line would be spent, we'd be submitting to FEMA for reimbursement of it at 100%. So there will be a drawer on this line because of, it's been nothing technical this year, but a lot of administrative stuff, tracking down keeping these projects flowing forward. And we had a couple get denied, which both were appealed. We won one appeal and one is still pending. We haven't heard a result, in a 42-day government shutdown probably didn't help that process. I know it certainly slowed up. We got the notification that we won the appeal just before they shut the government down, and then 42 days later, probably they emptied the trash can and everything went in it, I don't know, but I was gonna follow up with the state. I gave them a week, so I'm gonna follow up with them tomorrow and just see if they know anything, because according to what it's been described to me, the money that we're getting is already in the hands of the state of New Hampshire.
Oh, okay.
And the federal agency is the one that reversed themselves and granted our appeal. So theoretically, there's money in Concord that should be coming to the town of Madison, but we haven't got it yet.
It would be nice on the comment line that you put reimbursable, possibly reimbursable.
Excellent point. I didn't.
And then the fuel line, I mean, I know it's,
That is one for, again, preparation for and this may sound stupid, but I'm just gonna say it, 'cause we have a line for fuel and emergency management. If we had a catastrophic event where the generators that we had to run for multiple days at a time, obviously we would need fuel. Going through a calendar year where they all fire once a week for
testing.
internal testing, processing, get the fluid.
Exercising.
Get the fluids, flowing and stuff like that. That activity doesn't burn a lot of fuel in a year. As a matter of fact, the propane guy gets upset with us because they come down here with a truck to fill the tank and
Can't fill it.
they put in very, very, very little. So it's almost like not worth their trip, in a manner of speaking. But anyway, that fuel line exists in the event that we had an event where we had to buy fuel for the generators only, that's what the line's for, then we would overspend that line. And it's bottom line budgeting, but we have a line there to be spent. We'd spend that dollar and as many more as we needed to keep the necessary things running during an emergency. We
Is that reimbursable through FEMA? The fuel spent?
It would be.
Okay.
and good, knock on.
Good Lord willing, it doesn't
Knock
happen.
on wood, it hasn't happened yet, and it's one of those things where we've got those generators, and it's a terrific expense to do it. We got some grants over the years, and we had a gift of one. The one at the fire station was a gift. So- And hopefully, good Lord willing, it's one of those things where we gotta maintain them, of course, but if we never have to use them,
It's a good thing.
it's a good thing.
But if you need them,
Exactly, we
They're
need them to
there.
work, so,
Right.
which is why the maintenance line has to increase.
is there a way to, oh, my fingers are cold. Is there a way to, you're gonna overspend the line regardless, in all probability, because you're not gonna budget $10,000 on that line. It's just
Correct.
not feasible to do that. But is there a way to look over, say, the last 3 to 5 years and figure out how much we have spent in propane for those machines, and then use that at least so that it's a number that makes a little more sense? Because you're burning fuel. It's not a lot.
We
but-
definitely, I don't know that we have that much history.
Not really.
At the fire station, we would, that one's been there a while, and the one at the school has been there for a while. But the ones at this building, and both garages were 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Time goes by faster.
But they all
Right,
should
yeah.
use the same amount of fuel if they're kicking off once a week.
Relatively
It depends on
speaking.
how big they
This
are.
one's
Yeah.
bigger,
A
the
bigger
other two for
KWs.
the garages are the
Right.
same size.
We got like a 500-gallon tank or something.
Right,
in
we
the-
get 1,000-gallon tank
1,000
out
gallon,
here
okay.
for those two, and then a 250-pounder down
What's that?
below, above ground.
But if there's a way to sort of estimate.
Yeah, we should be able to look at, and obviously, I mean, it'd be difficult, because what you're gonna see is you're gonna see the fill on a 1,000-gallon tank.
'Cause that's used
It's
for
only
other
been-
things.
It's only been 2 years. No,
No,
no.
oh, no,
this
so
is
it's
used
just-
for-
It's
just
dedicated to
for-
the
Yeah.
generators.
Yep. So, but yeah, we could come up with some kind of idea.
Some kind of,
That's
yeah.
more than $1.
Something a little better than $1,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Dollar
like I
looks
said-
good on paper.
Well, like I said, yeah, but that wasn't the intent
Right.
either.
No,
The
right.
intent was
Just to have a line item
to have a
spend.
line that you could,
Overspend.
Spend
you
against.
could book an expense to.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that would be more in the case of a FEMA emergency, not necessarily day-to-day operations
Correct,
either. Yeah.
right. But everything being what it is, regardless of an emergency or not, you're absolutely right. Firing that thing for whatever it is, a half an hour every week, is certainly burning something. So at the very least, we could come up with an annual, some kind of
Approximation.
Yeah.
annual approximation between the 1, 2, 3,
5.
5 generators to, and then you'll have my head for increasing the budget,
True,
but we'll get it.
true.
There's a requested head.
Let the record reflect that I've been set up to fail.
That's why we pay you the big bucks.
Right.
Supplies, you haven't spent any supplies? No money on supplies?
No, unless, technically speaking, yes, we have, but Linda spent it, so she spent it out of her budget and we're getting reimbursed. But it wasn't really, no, it was administrative, those notebooks and stuff
Oh,
that we're
right, right,
claiming, because we get that reimbursed at 100% also. So we do have, and I can't remember what that dollar figure was off the top of my head, it was like $130 or something.
So
I'd say
this
like
line will
84.
change? This line will have $130
Well,
or
we paid
so?
for those before, not this year.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
because the storm event was 23, so yeah, this
Oh,
year,
so-
no, we haven't spent any on
Okay,
supplies.
and probably the reason why you reduced it, $300?
Right, well, like
Okay.
I say, I was trying to soften that $2,300
Yeah.
as much as I could.
Okay, anybody have any other questions? Do you have anything else about, no? All right, we'll move on to your next one then.
Financial administration. And just might as well just start at the top and work down. The computer support line, you can see where we overexpended by a little bit. There were some expenses relative to our communications for different things, the credit card, reader, stuff like that, that we pay monthly fees on. There were some increases that weren't anticipated, that we obviously didn't overexpend the bottom line, but that line got overspent, so I just rounded up to the next $100, that is the increase on that.
I think part of that was, that Adobe that we had to buy with the new computers
Correct.
too.
So much of this, it's getting to the point of whatever thing you have on the computer, you're gonna pay like a à la carte
A subscription.
menu. Yeah, and it was, certain things, on my side, I don't know exactly how Linda's reporting with the state works from her program. But from my program, I need to be able to edit my PDFs so that I can get my data into, rather than manually entering it, I can import it, but I have to have that ability in Adobe to do that.
And then you have to buy the full-blown
As
version.
Linda said, we had to have a little bit better subscription than the free one that we've been using for years.
Adobe Reader, the rest of the world,
did.
99% of everybody uses that.
It didn't work any longer for my purposes, so yeah, that's exactly right. So I had to expend that little bit more money than obviously I wanted.
Is that an annual subscription to them, or was it a buy it
Yeah,
once and you
no,
got
it
it?
was
No,
an
there's no
annual.
more of that either.
It's
No,
annual.
no, drive
No, it's every
nuts.
year.
So,
Getting Microsoft is a annual
Investment.
expense every
No,
year.
it's not. I buy Office, and buy it once and I own it, local.
Yeah, but you can't, you don't have any of the upgrades or anything, whatever, anyway.
they've got you coming and going.
Yes,
One way or the other, something's not gonna work, that you're gonna need a patch for it. Going down, deputy town clerk tax levy, that's Becky.
so I have a question.
Sure.
I didn't real, is she the deputy town?
No, it's just always, that's been a
That's-
line label in the budget forever. I don't have one, I don't have
I
a
didn't think
deputy.
we did, yeah. Cause I was gonna say, by
And frankly
law, if we have them, we
speaking-
have to live in town.
I would rather have Becky and no deputy than force me to get a deputy, which it can't be Becky because she doesn't live in Madison.
Right.
I'd rather go the way we're going, because she's a tremendous asset, and her end is in sight, she keeps telling me. I don't like
I can
to,
see the finish line.
I don't like to think about it,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of relying on her husband a little bit, because he's never gonna retire, so the longer he works, he'll just tell her, why don't you work a couple more years?
Right.
We'll retire together.
Let's like this out a little bit.
And he's a workaholic, so I'm not looking forward to that day. That's all.
Are you planning for that day then?
I am preparing for it.
Okay.
Can't plan for it, but you can prepare for it. And that's what I'm trying to do. We do have one thing, God bless Marcia Shackford, we recognized her before, but, she had categoric outlines for almost every official function covered by the job. And I use them not every day, but today, there's a 8-page document, line by line, the steps to take to import a warrant and get tax bills out the door. I use that every time, and it's just incredibly handy. She put those mechanisms in place, and if it's not broke, I'm not fixing it. I just use her stuff and give her credit for it. And Becky obviously has been there a lot longer than I have, and she's worked under that. Well, she witnessed the development of that, and probably participated a little bit more than she got credit for. But anyway, she's an incredible asset. But the systems are in place, whoever comes after her, as long as they've got a good work ethic and the ability to think on one's feet and read. The outlines are all right there, all you have to do is follow literally step by step, check the box. I swear to God, she's got a book where the first line is turn the lights on. Well, probably unlock the door.
Yeah.
You have to unlock the door to get
To
to
get
the
to the-
notebook,
right.
so once
Says
you,
you've already unlocked the door.
Right.
You've already completed
And turn
step
on the
one.
lights,
Now
so
I
you
tell
don't bump your
right,
feet,
yeah,
and
doing
head
well.
in the dark.
but yeah, so that's, I am preparing myself for that eventuality, but not looking forward to it whatsoever. Let's see, next line down, again, it was I don't have the drawdown specifically in front of me, but the memberships that we have are everything from the Town Clerk and Tax Collectors Associations right down to the, we have, oh, that, I know, I do now it's ringing a bell to me. We pay a subscription for its, everybody calls, there is a Kelly Blue Book, but the subscription that we have is Red Book, but it's all for motor vehicle and RV values, and we pay a subscription annually, which allows us to verify when dealers or owners or whoever is not presenting all of the information we need to register vehicles, and we can plug in the VIN number and look it up from the manufacturer to ensure that the numbers are accurate. And that subscription went up. Obviously, they never come down. Mileage line is kind of the same as the fuel line and the other. We don't, when I go to trainings, they're statewide kinda, and Becky and I, when we have to go, we split it up, and she'll go to like the Lakes Region one, which is in Meredith, Laconia. She lives in Meredith, so if we can get one close, we don't charge for the mileage, because it's more of a headache than it's worth, and it's closer for her to go to Laconia for a training than it is to
Here.
drive here to get to work. And, let's see, office equipment. I, you know, we didn't spend, and we got, we replaced, this year, we replaced the old, state printers that we had. The state's not, well, the state never supported them. They supplied them years and years ago, but they're all aging out, and the state wasn't gonna replace them, so it was up to us to replace them. So we bought new printers for the DMV work. And that, the toner cartridges for that, we bought a support, we bought them locally through Porter Office Machines, and they support them with a service plan which includes toner. So the cartridges for the old state, those things were $320 a piece. So that's, the reason I was able to cut that line is we replaced the old printers, got a better service plan with the new ones, and basically allowed me to reduce that line a little bit. And every little bit helps. Office equipment repair, didn't have to repair anything because we replaced something. I thought about if I cut that down a little bit, but the problem is if something goes kaput, it costs more to replace it than we want it to. And if I don't need to spend it, as you can see from this year, it won't be spent. Office supplies, again, I reduced that just a little bit, looking at what we had expended, and again, it's one of those things where they don't wanna cut my nose off to spite my face, but I reduced it a little bit, and plus we are gonna have some expenses coming in, because we did just get some supplies, so I'm not sure that the expended column is completely 100% up to date, but postage, this is the big one. We're gonna overspend that line, not the bottom line, but it's just the way it's looking. And again, I don't think this even has, Becky we put out the December renewals this week.
Yeah, this is only through the third quarter, so end of September.
So we've got, so then you've got October, November, and December, those 3 months worth of motor vehicle renewal notices that aren't even reflected there. So we're gonna overspend that line
And tax bills too.
because of the, yeah, and our second issue tax bills, the postage for those hit that line also. And probably as we get closer to the end of the year, we'll be able to look and, you know, if we don't need, the hard part is, with so many changes over the year, we'll just, if I can reduce that by $500, I will, depending on how we end up at the end of the year. But, you know, whatever our over expenditure is, I gotta budget a little bit more than that, because we're gonna have, who knows how many increases we'll have next year. Preservation, again, there's nothing planned, but I did just place an order for a box of their specific preservation file folders, and as you might imagine, they're expensive. They're not $200, but they're $70 a box. So there will be an invoice hitting that line.
Why is, I mean, they're just, I don't know why there's a line for preservation in financial admin. Why wouldn't that just be as part of, are there other things besides these file folders for preservation that?
Well, the preservation is specifically to the official documents and records.
Right, but it's just office supplies, right? It's just office supplies.
Well, it's specific,
It can be, but it's specific
Records for
to,
the clerk
like,
takes care of.
it's not just manila folders. I don't know what exactly they're made of, but they're made to last forever.
Yeah, they're archival quality.
Whatever. I don't know, it's always been that way.
Okay.
Because everything, I mean, this time is file folders, and right now, frankly, I think I'm all set. I've got more storage boxes than we can fit in the vault, so we won't be needing to buy those
For a while.
for a while, but we,
and plastic clips would come on
yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of thing.
the-
Instead of stapling
and
a
archival.
plastic clip on.
yeah.
But again, everything that you mentioned is like an office supply. Maybe you could have a subcategory of preservation supplies under office supplies and save yourself a little bit of hassle. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Well, yeah, and you could be right. Well, no, I'm not, that's not the right way, I'm sorry. That-
That's okay.
But the only other, the preservation line is, and we just haven't had to do it, because I think Marcia finished it before she retired. But the older, I mean, we still do have some older books, but they've been judged to be in sufficient condition to maintain in their current state, which is what we have done. But she had some of the old paper records consolidated into bound volumes, and that's quite expensive. We haven't done it since she retired, and just because she got the last of it done, but that's another explanation for why there's a preservation line, and it used to be a lot bigger than $200. Because to do one of those books was several thousand.
Okay.
Is there a law that says how long you have to keep that stuff for?
Anything that's preserved is forever. Anything in that vault is forever, nothing.
My question was, but what goes in what do you have to preserve?
Oh, yeah, there is a statute, it's RSA 3033, I think it is the official preservation schedule, and yeah, they're all outlined by subject matter, et cetera, and so on, and timeline. The
Minutes, warrants.
minutes, warrants, I mean, the majority of the stuff that we do at a day-to-day basis is 7 years,
Yeah.
which that's in the cold storage up on the third,
Second.
it's really second floor, this is the basement.
Yeah.
Anything with a true expiration date, with the exception of voting materials. Elections I haven't maintained for 22 months after blah, blah, blah. That is in the vault, along with the vote tabulator, all of that stuff, so that if the,
And this, You have to maintain the paper copies of things like minutes and that stuff, you can't maintain electronic
Perpetuity.
copies?
There,
Yeah.
there is, the technology has been approved, it's called PDF-A archival. I don't have the technological knowledge to how to translate that stuff.
I do.
If you told me I had to scan that stuff, the first one I put through the scanner would like get destroyed and then. Anyway, yes, they have, the state has developed a protocol for allowing the preservation of documents in electronic form. But,
And the law says that if you go to court and you need a document, you have to present the best copy you have. So if you scan and shred the old ones, the paper one, and you have an electronic copy, that serves the court as well.
right, but that's a,
Is there a subscription fee with the?
I'm sure there is.
Right.
But,
Subscription fee with,
Excuse me, with the digital storage.
well, it
If you're
depends
gonna-
on how big your cloud is.
It's on
Right,
your
but I
own,
mean,
It's
if
on your
you're,
own
but
system.
it's on your own system.
right, no, he's talking about the software.
right, that's the thing, to the
Oh.
PDFA,
PDF.
state approved
Oh.
archive software, would that be,
I don't,
I'm assuming there is some sort of, but that was, yeah, that's what.
I'm just assuming if we got to the point where we'd have to budget more money and hire somebody to do it, like I say, I don't want that. It's bad enough it's on my shoulders to actually preserve the documents, which I do. But if you task me with having to scan,
Re-preserve
I
them?
don't wanna be standing in front of the machine when the book gets shredded.
Sounds like a job for the new Becky.
But, yeah, so there is a protocol, the technology is there to be utilized if and when the town of Madison's prepared to pay to utilize it. Right now, I mean, we do have adequate space in our vault, and it is, if you
It's
didn't
working.
know, it's underground outside the foundation of this building, so theoretically, and I hope it's true, if there was a catastrophic event in this
Explosions.
building,
Those would be
that
preserved.
vault is located in such a position to hopefully survive. I don't want to
I don't wanna
test it.
test it.
No.
Okay, just curious.
Excuse me.
And then let's see, what we got?
Printing,
Preservation.
recording fees, technology.
Printing, yeah, again, there's gonna be, there's gonna be 2 fees for the second tax billing that will hit that line. They print because they do the printing and mailing for me, they print, tax envelopes at the same time that they print tax bills. So I will get an invoice. They're really quick, believe it or not.
Monday.
I pled with them I really wanted to get, he said, would Monday be okay? I said, yeah, Monday's fine with my deadline, but Friday would be better,
Better.
this Friday. So I don't know what he's gonna be able to do, and Larry, Minuteman, they've done great, and,
They are good.
but anyway, it's gonna hit that line for approximately 3,000 envelopes and 3,000 tax bills, printed, stuffed, and sent, so it'll hit that printing line on the envelopes and the tax bills and the postage line on the postage.
You expect that that'll still come in under $2,500 or right
Yeah.
around 2,500?
Oh, it'll be less than that, the whole bill will be about 22, I think. That's what the first half was, and we have, 16 less bills this time? It was 16. So we'll save that times whatever, 74 cents or whatever. Recording fees,
Is that a reimbursable line as well? Sort of, I use reimbursable in where, like, recording fees are charged to the, when you're selling your house
In
and
a-
stuff.
In a roundabout way, it is, but it's not necessarily in this budget year.
Right, it doesn't go back
'Cause-
into here.
No,
But the
I
town
mean,
gets money for those.
eventually, yes.
Yeah, you-
Every, okay, we're getting ready to send out the final tax bill, so that's it for 2025. There's a date in January, I will send out the first delinquent notice that says you have unpaid 2025 taxes, which will go to lien at a date in April. When April comes, anybody with unpaid 25 taxes will get all lumped together into a tax lien that gets recorded at the registry. So there's a recording fee right
Okay.
there. Every single individual property that is liened, there's fees associated that are tacked on
For those
for
administrative
the
costs.
administrative costs and process. So eventually, depending on how quickly, some people, it was like, oh crap, I forgot to pay my tax bill, and they come in the next day and I didn't even realize it went to lien, and they pay it right away, but they're gonna pay those fees. So depending on how quickly somebody wants to get a lien off their property would be when the town would get that money back. But it is, the mechanisms are in place to recover that,
Okay.
but you'll never see it. And
No.
there's no way for me, other than, I could tell you what I've collected for fees and penalties, but I couldn't itemize it as to where exactly
It all came
it
from.
came from in the process.
Right.
But it is, I can account for it separately than interest.
Is that on the, you know, that revenue-ish report that,
Now it's in the MS 61.
Yeah, it's not called out, it would be in with the tax fees, which aren't in the revenues, they're receivable.
It's in the MS 61.
okay,
We don't have that,
Hmm?
she doesn't have.
we don't get the MS 61.
Oh, I thought you were.
Unless I start asking Linda for it, which is.
Well, no, you
like
wouldn't,
one
it
more.
would be, it's an annual document, and it's
Yeah.
in the,
Town
it's in the
report,
town
but
report.
Yeah,
that's,
no,
I
We
get
don't need to.
recognized
okay.
every so often. Last year, I was the first in the state
Look at you.
to get it done.
Look at you.
Well, you have 60 days to do it, but I
Well,
can't,
right, exactly.
until I do it, I can't open my books for the next year, so I
Right.
do it on as close to December 31st as possible. And one year it was December 31st, and I clicked send, and it was a work day,
that's right,
you
in
know.
that year.
and So they recognized me at the annual
Like,
conference.
woo-hoo, my
Big
Shout out to Mike Brooks for
Brooks.
Well, big
Keeping
deal,
that.
but I mean, it's just so, it's so easy if you, I balance it monthly.
Yes.
So it's, the only thing I do in December is make sure I got the month of December right. It's always been right all year long. So there's nothing to think about, and no reason to hold on to it for 60 days. And some people, they take a different view, but that's my report, and everything I submit to the other side of the town hall, my report is right. They have to balance to me. But there's no, I mean, prior to Linda's time, and there used to be a person upstairs that said I couldn't submit that until she told me it was okay. I double checked the statute, verified it was my
I'm the boss.
report, and I can
Right,
pretty much
right,
submit it
right.
whenever it's ready to be submitted.
Moving on.
Moving right along. Recording piece, so yes, it is,
It's
the town is
recoverable.
able to recover
Okay,
that. Technology. I would say don't ask, because it's there for a reason, and I can't explain this late in the year why it hasn't been spent. I get back to you on that.
okay. What is it typically spent on?
Obviously, something we haven't done yet, or paid for. I'll just have to get back to you. I don't have any detail in front of me. I just have the budget sheets.
Oh, let me see.
I can look at the prior drawdown,
I was gonna say, I can look here, I have the detailed drawdown, so I can.
but it would only
That
help
would
you.
be
go
Because
back
we wouldn't
and
have
look at
anything
last
on it,
year.
because you haven't spent anything.
Right. I will, that will be a deliverable.
Okay.
What for? And then, training there. I think there's one, because I had a conference in October that I went to, which was way more money than I wanted to spend, and I didn't even.
There was a spring clerk workshop, a New Hampshire Tax Collectors Conference, and an NHCTCA conference.
Right, that's already in there?
Yeah, and a New Hampshire Tax Collectors Association annual spring workshop was, it was $60, it looks like it was $60 to register for the workshop, and then maybe $75 in mileage or reimbursement to Becky.
Oh, no,
For attendance.
that would have been,
Oh, she
so I
paid
would've,
for.
Or she.
I went to one and she went to another.
Okay, so there
And
was,
she
And
paid
she
for
paid
her
for
own.
hers on a credit card and
Yeah.
got reimbursed.
yeah,
Can't
and then
remember.
there, and, yeah, and then it says New Hampshire Tax Collectors Conference.
Oh, I know what it
training.
was, because we got the notice late, and we didn't have time to get it in front of the selectmen before.
To get it checked.
She had to,
You had to register.
had to register. I don't know,
And
they've
then-
had some changeover in both of those associations, some new leadership and a lot of changes, people have retired and so forth.
And then $400 for the NHCTCA conference.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the big one.
Well, yes, but not really.
No, it's just the expensive one.
My involvement was the same as for the other one, but they grab you for everything. The other one I didn't pay for any meals. Because it was in North Conway, I walked over to Market Basket and got a $1.95 sandwich at lunchtime instead of the $38 mashed potato they wanted me to pay for. No, but literally, not mashed potato, but baked potato. They do the, decorate your own baked potato.
Is there like
No,
gold fillings
like-
you could put on the top?
No, exactly, it was like a salad bar for baked potatoes, but I mean.
For
really-
$38.
It's just not worth, so anyway, but the one that was hosted at the Mount Washington Hotel, there was a set fee if you wanted to attend and everybody paid the same. And the only people that paid more are the ones that got actually rented rooms and
Yeah.
stayed there for $199 a night. That wasn't me. I drove back and forth 3 days. Anyway, I try to save money where I can. I don't eat on the town's dime. Although I did at the Mount Washington because they.
You had to.
They
You had
forced me
to. You had no other
I was
option.
extorted out of that money.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna
it
say-
was a stupid baked potato bar. The one that kills me is the build your own sandwich with deli meats. And it's like they put a price tag of $36 on that. No, thanks.
You buy a lot of deli meat for $36.
I can.
A real lot.
Yeah.
One big
I don't
sandwich.
generally like to eat it. It's got a lot of salt in it. Anyway, yeah, that's the expense on that line.
So do you is there an opportunity to shave $100 or $200 off of that?
It's possible with
But you don't know. what
With the exception of, I don't know where they don't decide, but before the Red Jacket burned down, it used to be simple. One was at the North Conway Grand, the other one was at the Red Jacket every year. And they just flip-flop between September and October, depending on which one went there. And it used to be really simple. You knew you could budget, you knew you weren't gonna stay at a hotel, you could budget for it, and you knew they kept the expense pretty
minimal.
for the association. It's really relatively slow times for the hotels, so they kinda like to have a big crowd from all over the state, cause, 262-ish
Yes.
people show up, so. And long story short, ever since the Red Jacket burned, they're starting to flip flop. Well, we'll do it, they did it in Nashville last year. I didn't go, I'm not driving all the way down there. It's too close to the border for me.
Okay, well,
Anyway, I don't know where it is or how much it's gonna cost. This one was the 100th anniversary for the City and Town Clerks Association. So it was a big deal. They had to go back to the Mount Washington, I guess, and they made us pay for it. Next year it'll be at a Holiday Inn or something.
yeah, so if you look at it, there might be an opportunity
There may be
to
an
drop that
opportunity,
a little bit. 100 to 200 at the
But-
most, kind of.
And I know you don't like to hear me say this, but if I don't need to spend it, I'm not going to.
Right. I expect everyone to be like that. If it's not necessary to spend it, then
Right,
we
but-
don't spend it.
But I actually am.
That's represented in the next
Anybody
budget.
else? Anybody have any other questions? Anything else, Mike, from you about that
Not on
budget
that
in
one.
general? Okay,
And frankly, I know
here we go.
it's the bigger one, but I've got even less on this. I think
Yeah, there's a whole
Josh-
lot of 0% changes.
Josh steals a lot of thunder, and I've done my best the last 2 years. You asked me, I was the only department in town that held my line last year, the only one. And I've tried to do the same this year. I actually have done the same. Well, technically, if you lump everything together, I've done the same. The $1,000 increase to the mutual aid dues is, obviously, it's outside of my control, but it is important, and
Yep.
the association doesn't feel good because we've gone from 8 to 9 to 10 in consecutive years. They don't like it, but technology has gotten more expensive. Site rentals where we have tower locations, the mutual aid association, our dues pay for that. And those prices are going up. Landowners want more money for their rent.
So they can pay more taxes.
Right. So the long and the short of it is that $1,000, there's no way to control it. It's very well, it's not wasted by any stretch. It goes to the supporting the technology, the radio equipment, consoles in the sheriff's department. We pay for out of these funds, and the sheriff pays the wages for the people that work the systems. So it's a little bit of a trade-off there. And so I tried to, down below, when you get into the warden lines, again, as dry as everything was this summer, we didn't need to spend, we fortunately didn't get, I shaved $1,000 off down below to offset, so it's a zero-sum game. And then, like I say, hopefully trimming the budget like I did down below, it doesn't bite us next summer. Who knows what's gonna happen, but as I've said before, if I don't need to spend it, as you can see, I don't. Obviously, we only had one. We had a lightning strike, which fortunately, because of the terrain it was in, it didn't get much more than an acre, and it burned deep. That was the pain in the butt part about it. It didn't spread because the terrain didn't allow it to, but it burned deep. So it took us 3 days to extinguish it, but that doesn't translate into any expense on this side. However, I do need to replace 2 lengths of hose, which will only be a couple $100. But that invoice will be forthcoming. And a lot of the other stuff, I know you look at across at the expense, expended versus, it's so hard, as Josh mentioned earlier. I could have something catastrophic happen to one of the trucks, and then just all of a sudden, I don't have money enough to repair it. Because it's just ridiculous what repairs cost. On our newest fire truck, the littlest thing, I gotta take it back to Lakes Region where we bought it. Can't seem to drive in there for the simplest thing, it's $3,000 bill.
Right.
So can I ask, it says EMS training, you've expended $0?
Yeah,
Well, when I was going through the detailed drawdown, and maybe this is just in the wrong place, under new equipment, there's a EMT refresher for Morrow, Dudley, and Brooks for $450, but it's listed under new equipment from October 27th?
oh, that was,
Yeah, that was voided. It's not supposed to be in there. I'll have to look. When we try and void things, you have to do it in two places, and I fear we didn't do it in two places.
The bottom line is, we did do that refresher training. and
Right.
It was $150 a piece,
Right,
and which adds up to $450. And
right.
the instructor was from Freiburg. We went to his location to make it easier for him, et cetera, and so on. We paid for it. He didn't give us a receipt, so I didn't have a receipt to turn in, and therefore I can't get it reimbursed. I'm still working on trying to get the receipt so I can get that reimbursed. But you were absolutely correct. It should hit the
Yeah, it
train-
shouldn't be
the
under new
training-
equipment, I
the
wouldn't
training
think.
line instead of
Should be under, it'll be under EMS training when it gets all settled and solved.
and maybe as going forward, not this coming year, but we get a little bit more, the state is making some training opportunities available at the state's expense, because everybody's hurting across the board. EMS is no, I mean, even on the fire side, the public service in general, everybody could use help.
Yeah.
And people aren't beating down the door to volunteer to help. So the state is trying to, kind of taking it on, trying to get more Fire 1 and 2 classes going on, and it's, I'm not gonna say it's free, but it's kind of covered by our taxes. And so, if they stay the course and keep doing that, some of those lines could get trimmed a little bit, just because if I wanna put somebody through an EMT class right now, it's gonna cost me $1,700 for one person, if I can get that person to come through the door that wants to do it. If I wanted to put them into a class, that's what it would cost. So that's why those lines are as large as they are. But if I can get somebody through the door and the state is putting on a class that I can get them in at little to no expense, I may be able, once we get a little bit more history with this new change in leadership at the division of EMS in Concord, we may be able to trim this budget a little bit in that regard, because we won't have to spend the money anymore if they're putting on the classes.
So I'm presuming that the line 20 training is fire specific as opposed to EMS training. I know
Yeah.
you separated them out just probably
Well,
for
that's-
accounting purposes.
That was before my time. It's always been. There was a time when we were the fire department and the rescue squad separate. They merged about,
10 years ago at least.
no, more than that, but
20.
10, 15, 20 years ago. So time goes by faster than I want to acknowledge, but in any event, I think generally speaking, a lot of folks around here are hesitant to change, and I'm certainly one of them. It was always divided, and that's the way the budget was, so it just stayed that way. Could we have one training line? Yeah, it wouldn't make much difference. But the way that it is right now, you're absolutely correct. EMS is EMS, and anything that doesn't say EMS is fire. And again, same thing down there, I already said, those Fire 1 and 2 could be expensive when you had to pay for it. But lately, we've been able to get in cheap through the state, and frankly, by lately, I mean, I've sent 3 people through at no cost.
Is there an opportunity then, because there's $5,000 in that line that looks like it hasn't been touched.
That's
Is there an
correct.
opportunity to lower it by 1,000 to 2,000 to? That way you still have money if it's gonna cost you $1,700 or so. You still have some money to be able to send 1 or 2,
Right.
but the rest of the people you would probably be able to hopefully get into one of the state-sponsored ones.
Yep. I'll have to think on that a little bit. I've held the line when nobody else has.
I understand. And we appreciate it.
Part of me wants to say it's not fair to ask me to go below to bail somebody else out.
Well,
I'm
I'm asking based on.
No, I understand.
I'm asking everybody to sharpen the pencils, look at where
Right.
you actually have spent and haven't
I've got
spent.
mine razor thin, sharp as a tack.
But you also haven't, you've budgeted $5,000, but you haven't spent that $5,000.
You will.
So if there's an opportunity to
Right.
reduce it from, and again, it's a number on a
I'll
piece
have
of
to
paper.
think about it, because if I ever do have somebody beat down my door, I don't wanna have to tell them I can't. If there wasn't something available for free and I could find an opportunity to pay to have them trained, I want the ability to be able to do that. I wouldn't wanna turn somebody away because I can't get them trained.
Well, there's always the opportunity to go before the selectmen and ask them to overspend the line,
Yeah,
right? I mean, if it's a worthy cause, there's other areas in your budget and or the town's budget that haven't been spent. And like I said, it's a one-off. You're not asking to overspend every line or every year to overspend that line, so.
try not to do it at all if I can help it.
And believe me, as a taxpayer, I appreciate that. Okay, you haven't spent anything on uniforms?
Nope.
Nope.
I don't.
Waiting on the
Those-
new washer.
Huh?
I see. Aren't you waiting on a new
New
washer?
No, I just don't, it's a problem.
I mean, they wear out eventually, you'll have to
Yeah,
probably.
we don't have any. Uniforms are exactly what they are, uniforms, like,
Not the fallout gear.
Okay,
not the turnout
Yeah,
gear,
turnout.
that's under the personal protective gear up above. And I have bought a set of that this year.
Okay,
And the price went up and I cut that line, so. I mean, maybe the best that I can do is I can reevaluate that line, because it really, you can see what was expended there.
on the personal protective
Yeah,
gear?
that was one complete set of gear.
Okay. Can you anticipate by looking at the status of your gear if you're going to need
Yep.
more than one next year? Because if you're
Well-
gonna need more than one, you're gonna need more money.
Well, right, and I'd like to have, yes. But what I'm saying is I may be able to shave some off that training line down below, but I'd like to boost that back up so I can actually get 2 sets.
Okay,
It used to be cheaper. I mean, it really did. I had enough money in there. And I cut that line a little bit last year. And in planning on the years before its price, I cut it down so that I could get 2 sets, but the prices went up. So long story short is I may be able to shave a little down there, but it's just gonna go up above. But it may be able to net a little bit more reduction.
and if we don't have uniforms, is there an opportunity to cut that line in half? I'm gonna save you $250, but I presume you buy guys' t-shirts, which would go under, you could probably put under uniforms,
Yeah.
right? I should say folks, cause it's not all guys.
Well, folks covers both.
Yeah.
Um,
Or a hat, like that says Madison Fire and Rescue.
Yeah, I do. Like I said, I stretch things as far as I can.
Okay, the warden equipment and fire warden, forest fires, warden, explain to me the difference between a warden for fire and a warden for forest fires. Is one the, like, fire pit type guy, and then the other one is,
I think the warden/fire is intended to be like a stipend for the warden, but, and then the warden with no slash and just says forest fires is, if we had a large scale event, which God, willing we don't, if it was a billable event, and whatever we do generally involves mutual aid, if it was a billable event, that means if it occurs in the town of Madison, everybody that sent folks to the event is gonna send me a bill that the town of Madison has to pay, would come out of that line, and then we would get reimbursed it. I think it's 50% from the state. but it's a lot of paperwork. Thank God it doesn't happen with any regularity, but the reason you have to have something to cover that event if it did happen. And once again, if it doesn't happen, the money doesn't get spent. However, as I did say, there's gonna be some coming out of that supply line for 3 lengths of hose that we lost up on the top of the mountain. Blew a coupling off one and we burned through another 2.
Does, that comes out of your new equipment line, or?
No, it comes under the warden,
Ward-
it's forestry equipment, forestry hose, which
Okay.
is, I know, transparent to you, but it really is different. The structural hose up above is more expensive and
So all of those lines deal
Six.
mostly with forestry stuff?
exactly, yep. Different pocket, same pair of pants.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
That's it.
Anything else?
I don't have any other pages.
No other pages?
It's 4. That's it.
That was just 4. Okay,
I don't know. 5.
well, thank you for coming and explaining this. We appreciate it. Makes it easier to deliberate when we know what we're, when we've had you come in and explain.
It was all like.
Oh, one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Not related to the budgets, but if you like to save money and spread the word, tell folks you know. State motor vehicle fees are going up January 1st. Some drastically, like you're gonna feel it. So if you have the ability and you're born before the 1st of April, you may wanna consider renewing before the end of December.
September. Damn it.
You can renew up to 4 months early.
August
You
and
could
September.
take advantage of the low prices in 2025 by doing it before the end of December.
They're making up for that inspection.
Making up for
Yeah.
it.
I'm sure it's related, I don't really
Yeah.
know the motivate pack, but I
Can't
just
wait.
thought where you like to save money, spread the word. Unfortunately, it only helps people up to March, but
Yeah.
every little bit helps. Some of them,
Big time.
yeah, vanity's 50%.
Sweet.
It's a good thing I don't have a vanity plate.
What about the moose plate?
40 was too much for me.
Yeah.
And Vanity Moose.
Yeah. Luckily, I didn't do vanity moose, just the moose plate.
If you have any
Thank-
questions, by all means, they gave me a little book at the conference that I can look up and tell you what your new fee
I'll come
would
take a
be.
look. I'll see you tomorrow.
I
It's
would
gonna
be highly interested in what
But
mine.
like I say, if you're before March,
Do it.
you can renew early and take advantage of one more cheap year before you feel it.
Yeah.
I'm going in April, so I get screwed.
I'm August and Kirk's September.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
And I did my wife's today.
Oh, there you go.
All right, Deb, you're up with the school board update.
Okay, I didn't know if I was gonna be on the agenda, but I was hoping I was.
No,
'cause-
wait, I'm gonna leave you and Jake on the agenda permanently, because there's, that way,
Cause we actually did have, not a regular scheduled meeting, but we had a meeting last night, as well as a joint board meeting. So, what I can update you on is that, health insurance cost for school care, for the employees, came in at 22%.
22%
increase?
Correct.
Phew.
And because they're mid-contract, they do not have to change their plan, whereas
Mhm.
administration and SAU, don't have CBAs, so they are not able to keep the plan that's current. It's sunsetting, so they have to choose the orange plan, it's called, instead of the yellow plan.
Which has the 22% increase in it.
The yellow is the 22%. So that was not anticipated. Tuition has come in. We were expecting to be relatively low because of our sixth graders not going, and there was that whole
Saturation.
change last year. So I guess we expected that that reduction to be felt last year, and we were told, no, it's gonna be the year after. So tuition has come in at an increase of $60,000.
Yes,
For how many students?
price per pupil.
That's middle school and high school, so let's see, that's. Oh, what does it have? It doesn't have Madison's, it just has total. So I'd have to get back to you on that. Oh wait, up here, 2969, so 98,
Yeah, 98.
98 students. The other thing, that is,
Do you happen to know like what that 60K represents? How much of a percentage increase?
I don't, we were just given an email, cause you have to keep in mind, this has happened between our official last board meeting, and we haven't had another one.
Right, that's,
So it's
next one
just,
is 1 December.
yep, it's just been via email, I'm kinda getting that information. The main thing that we talked about at our meeting last night was considering taking on the preschool away from the SAU budget. 'Cause right now the preschool is in the SAU budget. And the other two towns have expressed concern over how the preschool is funded, because it's an apportionment model. So there are some districts that that have students in the preschool, they're not identified, so they don't receive any services. So that is for lack of better words, we call it pay to play. So the parents pay a fee to have their students go. But Freedom still has an apportionment that they have to pay, even though they have no identified students coming to our program. So it's a pretty significant cost, it's over $60,000 for them, for the whole program. So, in looking at us, absorbing it into our budget, we can look at we pay $87,000 for our apportionment of the preschool. So that would come out of the SAU budget, so that would be savings, if we were to take it on. The other towns, there would have to be a memorandum of understanding, and we are proposing a contract, where each town pays $10,000 to hold us as the preschool of record. So that if they have identified students, they can come to our preschool. So that's kind of a fee to hold a spot for students. And then they pay for what they use. So if they have students that are identified in the program, and they, let's say, get speech services so many times, their speech services is worked out to be about $104 per hour. So the other towns would be billed for that apportionment, so we would receive revenue. When you look at everything said and done in comparison to what we pay now, or what we would have to pay in addition to absorb the preschool into the Madison budget. It's $15,888 is.
Do you have a copy of that cost analysis that can be shared with us?
I
You
probably
can ask
do
Jim.
here,
You can ask Jim if he can send it.
I can get it to you probably at the end. A lot of those are just my notes.
Yeah.
But, because we hadn't officially voted yet to do that at the time I was taking my notes. So the SAU joint board did vote to let go of the preschool, and the Madison School Board did vote to take it on last night. So there does look to be like a minimal, but it's $15,000 is a good amount of money to take that on. But we are still looking at the budget. So the budget that we were given last night has, I think we've talked about this before, that there are 2 positions in the budget currently that were not filled because
Right.
we couldn't
Couldn't
get
get-
anybody
right.
to
But
fill them.
The money
And-
was there to fill them, they were allocated, it was allocated, they just aren't physical bodies that.
Nope, we couldn't find anybody to fill
Right.
them, so, so the idea was that they were gonna keep or take 1.5 of those positions that haven't been filled out of the budget. And so that there would be a half-time position, which currently doesn't have a body attached to it. So it's not an increase or addition to the budget, but it's an increase to what we currently have
Physically.
for staff
Right.
physically right now. So that would change, in this latest budget, it's changed to 1 vacant position being removed because the preschool teacher would be the other teaching position. So it's gone from, we're reducing by 1.5 to we're only reducing by 1 from last year's budget. We are still looking at the budget, we are not done with it, so we are still looking for areas where some trimming can be done. But in terms of, so here's the dilemma, is that even though we've taken this vote, we don't have to, but we've decided to have the preschool program appear in the SAU budget and the Madison budget. And this is how it was done when we moved it to the SAU budget, because what will happen if we only have it in our budget and our budget fails, their preschool program is gone. So we have to carry it in both, because if our budget fails, it's still in the SAU budget and it can still happen as a program.
Is it possible to do the kindergarten as a warrant article as opposed to the budget and allocate the money? That way, if the budget fails, the kindergarten is still a separate issue and can be fully funded separately.
You mean the preschool?
Or the preschool, sorry.
Yeah. There wasn't any discussion about it being as a warrant.
Maybe I'll bring it up,
You could.
yeah, at the December 1st meeting. Because that protects it a little bit. And maybe there's rules specifically to schools that don't allow you to do that. But again, if there's a danger or a concern that the regular school budget might fail, then sectioning it off to a warrant article would, like I said, I think protect it a bit.
Unless that warrant article doesn't pass.
Well, if the warrant
And
article
then
doesn't pass,
You're in the
then
same boat.
you're still in the same boat, right. If the
Right.
warrant article doesn't pass, then there's opposition to the school having the preschool,
Right.
so.
But we still need to carry it in the
SAU budget.
SAU budget, just in case that were to happen, whether it's in a warrant or a budget and it fails on our part.
The problem is our taxes are all allocated based on those budgets that we pass, and if you're carrying the same amount or the same money in 2 different budgets, you're double taxing the taxpayers
Well,
for a
so there
portion.
was discussion about this, and I'm not like super knowledgeable about this, I'm new. But there was discussion that it would be, okay, I'm trying to get the words right. So taxpayers wouldn't, was my understanding, wouldn't be taxed twice. That if it's in the SAU budget and it passes Madison's, it somehow comes back as revenue, is how it was worded, but that it wouldn't be appropriated? Is that what it means when you take taxes from people?
Appropriated.
Because they will never need to spend it, so the idea is that it's just a scenario that if it doesn't pass here, and that if it happens that way and it passes in Madison and it goes that way, we're looking at, instead of an 8% increase in the SAU budget, we're looking at an 8% decrease in the SAU budget.
So you're telling me that the change in the budget is completely allocated to that preschool? If you're going from, that's a 16% change. 8%
No,
above
but-
to 8% below.
That's what was said at the meeting by the finance person, that it's 8 and a little bit and 8 here, but you're looking at a 16% decrease if,
Am I good?
You're good.
Okay.
and
And
again,
that may very well be, I don't
that
know.
has to be something that is communicated a lot better than I'm communicating it right now, just saying.
We appreciate it.
No, but you're doing a pretty good job.
Sounds great to me.
In terms of, so the voters understand that, that even though it appears in the SAU budget and it's gonna appear as though the SAU budget has increased, that if we pass in Madison, that SAU budget, our apportionment is gonna decrease significantly. And like I said, our apportionment for the preschool is $87,000, so obviously we're picking up some of that in our budget, but it also gives us more control, over the program. It takes, a load off of the SAU office in terms of billing. It's also hard to get substitutes and things when you're not actually in the physical building where the program is actually happening. So there will be a little cost savings in that respect, not a lot, but the SAU is asking for additional staff because of the burden of keeping up with the finances, and there apparently is a new law that if you're working over a certain number of hours consistently, we get fined or something. Because people are working overtime, but they're not getting paid for overtime. So they've asked for 25%. They have a person in the office that works 75% right now, and they're looking to make them a full-time employee. So they're asking for an increase of 0.25 of a position.
As a result of the administrative burden of running this program.
No, not of running this program, of just finance and special ed. Two things, business and finance. Business and finance is to help those two areas, which is still needed, but this is, the preschool thing is even an added thing that can take a lot of manpower, because if you have people who aren't paying their bill, you have to track them down. You're not in the building, so you can't just, as they're dropping off their kid, kind of say, hey, so it's a lot of calling and it's a lot of negotiating, and they seem to think that our office would be able to handle those kind of things easier, because they're gonna be in that same vicinity. Those are just little things, but the main thing is that the feeling would be that it's a little bit more fair for how the three towns are paying for the preschool.
Would the taking, I'm gonna call it, of the programs out of the SAU and putting it in the Madison schools' hand, would that necessitate, other than that half a position, any additional administrative staff to help manage and run this program? No.
No, because
They're
the special ed director right now and the building principal would be the administrators of that. Right now, it's more on the special ed director, because technically the employees are not Madison employees, even though they're working in the building.
They're SAU employees?
Yes. So there wouldn't be any more administrative, but there is a para and a classroom teacher associated with that program currently. There is a second para, but that is not being fully employed, or that position is not
Yes.
fully filled right now. I think we're using a substitute for the time being, but because the person we hired left after a couple weeks, I think, or a month.
Okay, so yeah, I think, I would be interested if we can get a copy of the sort of cost benefit analysis or whatever analysis they did to figure out that, yes, this
Yep.
makes sense for,
I'll look through my papers as you guys keep,
yeah,
as you can tell, I have a lot
that's
of.
okay. Yeah, you got a lot of,
I got budget stuff, I got
I know, right?
school board stuff, I
And
got.
my questions would all be directed towards the school board.
Right, so maybe December 1st.
Yeah.
I definitely will go
Well,
December 1st.
And I know we're gonna talk about the guidance.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm talking as a taxpayer, but I'm on the budget committee seat here. The detail with which this body is requiring of the town pales in comparison with the detail this body expects from the school. So that I would love for everybody to look at our budget with the fine tooth comb that we have been with the department heads to really, I mean, I've asked my questions as a school board member about different things, but I'm only one voice, so if the budget committee looks at our budget and questions things, I think the school board is looking for that input. And like I said, we're still working on the budget, so it's not a done deal, but December 1st is pretty much getting
Right,
close to the done
right.
deal,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So anyone else who would like to attend the meeting, one question, not an issue, one question I have for you is, I know their meeting starts at 6, but that's the closed, that's the
Yes.
closed session, so.
But 7. The
7.
chairperson has said he's always scheduled it for 7, and regardless of where
budget.
we are in
Right.
the agenda, the budget is gonna start,
At 7.
is being reviewed at 7,
Okay.
yes.
And can we start from the beginning and go through the end? Instead of, well, let's just boom.
We can probably start wherever if we ask questions, we're gonna answer them, so.
Yep.
I mean, I would
I
say.
mean, I had my questions written down based on, this is page 1, and you know what I mean, and they kept flip and flop, and then there was no rhyme or reason other than changes, so, I'm just saying,
Well, we can, but.
like tonight, they started with the first line, the second, you went down, you saw, the 12% or the, whatever.
Right. And I think when we go to the meeting,
Mhm.
if we ask that,
Yeah,
I'm sure that the school
Sure.
board is more than happy to do that and go
Mhm.
through that with us that way. and figure out. They may get tired.
Yeah, it's
Because
gonna be
it
a longer
gets-
meeting,
It
but,
gets to be a long meeting, so.
Don't say anything.
so I found what we got yesterday for default.
Okay, I was
And
gonna say,
then
we
we-
don't have to necessarily go through that
Yeah, no,
right
I just
now,
wanted to
but-
make sure that you knew that the additional cost we were cited was 35,888. However, if our MOU includes that, basically the way it's been worded is the other two towns need to have skin in the game. So that $10,000 from each of them is the skin in the game to hold us as the school of record for the preschoolers. So if we take that in as income,
It drops that by 20,000.
it
Yeah, it
ends up
becomes
being a
15,000.
15,888, so that's where that, things come from. So I'd be happy to try to answer as many more questions as you have, and I do think we have the other, but you can see here, there's the vacant position.
Right.
So instead of the half-time, that was in the last budget, so. But it also includes the new insurance, and they're not done looking at insurance, just so you know.
Okay.
Have they met with the employees?
Yes, administration has met with employees to talk about the current situation. It's a thing that we would need to find a plan that is acceptable to present to them and to be able to show what the costs are for them to decide whether they want to change to a different plan. So
Is-
if we could find a cheaper plan,
But is the SAU, are those people looking at it? I mean, that was.
they have to anyway, because the SAU has to go to a
Right.
different plan, and the
But-
administrators have to go to a different plan. So they are researching that, and the latest thing that Heather Sherwood
Right.
has gotten from Anthem was based on small pool, like a small group assessment. And she wants them to look at if they treated it as a large pool, would that make a difference in terms of the amount it would cost? So she's still actively pursuing that, however, she has to have something in the budget.
Mhm.
And so she's erring on the side of, at our suggestion, on the high side. So at the very least, we can come back to you and say, it's gonna be lower
Worst
than,
case.
it can't, it's not gonna be any higher. So, so that's what she's got in the budget right now, is those numbers, but we're hoping to still find another plan and get an approval from
Right.
employees at that, because they have to eat 12% of the 22% increase of
Right.
their plan
Right.
also. So if we can show them that we've got this plan and your 12% would be this compared to what you're gonna have to pay with the 22% increase, I feel like they would probably be willing to
Just
make that change, because it's gonna benefit them as long as their coverage is comparable. So that is still in the works.
And they're looking outside of school care.
Yes,
Okay.
Anthem was one
Alright.
program she
Yep.
named. There is the Orange Plan, which didn't, but we as a board and the SAU want to get away from school care
I would
as
think.
soon as possible.
I would think.
But it's because we're in mid-CBA.
Are they eligible for health trust, or is that?
I know, I
believe
mean, why can't we send Linda and Joe to figure that one out, right, Linda?
I
I
don't
mean-
know.
She's like,
I
don't
don't-
volunteer me
No,
for
no,
that.
no, I was
No,
just
there's
saying, I
health
remember
trust.
having a
This is what we
conversation
got
with
for
you, and you said we
the
started in the
No,
fall,
this is the breakdown of
No,
what
this
the,
is me.
looking at
Oh,
different
this is
This
options.
is town, yeah.
well, we did
And
get
by
one like
January
this too.
1, you had
We did
presented.
get one like that.
Well, our insurance goes January to December, the school goes July. to
Correct.
June.
July to
Correct.
June, right.
But my point being is when you and Joe started to research all this, it didn't take 2 years. It was like,
No, we had to do it in a couple months.
Said it
Right,
right, 3
right,
months, I think, yeah.
right.
Well, we
3-4
get our
months.
rates this like the second week in October,
Right.
and then we'll figure it out.
I guess my
Wait,
point
but
being,
anyway,
because.
Health Trust is the company that, that currently,
It's
Um,
through the town.
for the town
Town,
uses.
yeah.
So you might wanna just ask Heather to see if she's talked to them. I mean, they may not insure school systems, they may
Right.
only do municipalities, so I don't know.
Yeah, I would have to ask, I don't wanna speak out of turn, because I wanna give you accurate
Yeah,
information,
no,
so.
I appreciate that, yeah.
Um,
And I mean, when the insurance comes up on Monday night, I'll mention something like, have you,
Yeah, and I'm
Have you talked
hoping
to
by then she's gonna have more
More
information.
yeah,
Um,
okay,
So those were the big
the big
things that I didn't expect I would have to share anything at this meeting.
be like, nope, didn't have a
And I was
meeting.
like, oh, no, I'm like, what do you guys need me to tell the budget committee, because
Mhm.
I meet with them tomorrow.
Okay, Jake?
Set the tax rate,
Yeah.
$8.98, that's where we settled. We have a meeting tomorrow about the truck,
4:30 right here, right?
4:30 here, yeah. And discussion of the fact that we need to purchase it. We run a risk of losing it if we purchase it after town meeting.
We run the risk of
Losing
losing
the grant, the grant.
We wouldn't lose the truck, cause we'd have
Well,
purchased it.
right, but so we'd lose the $255,000
To pay for the truck.
to pay for the truck, due to the fact that the manufacturer is saying at least 5.5 months for completion of the build for truck, and then once we take the truck, we have to bring it to, Linda, help me, who?
HP Fair.
HP Fairfield, to have it outfitted with the bed, the plow equipment, and that can take upwards of month or two. So if we did it in April, would be, because we have to have it serviceable on the road by December 31 of next year.
And have we checked, has anybody checked with the state to say
Linda
that
did check,
the
and
exact language of
they
what
said,
constitutes serviceable?
well, it has to be on the road, we have to be able to drive it and use it, it has to be
In our
registered
fleet, right.
in our fleet. It has to be completed, because the grant, again, correct me if I'm speaking out of turn, please, covers the truck and the upfit of all the stuff we need. So they're not going to give us any money and consider it serviceable until it's completely done, because they're paying, that $255,000 doesn't just cover the truck, body,
Right,
cab and chassis, it's the bed, it's the plow frame, it's the whole,
Well, throughout the whole thing, we can get up to.
Up to
90%,
90%.
and then they won't give us that
10%.
10% until it's actually registered and on the road
but if it's not completed,
by
we do.
December 31st of 2026.
Right.
And if that's not all done, they have the option to give that money to somebody else.
Right. So,
And
But-
sorry.
no, go ahead.
I spoke with DES and I asked specifically what happens if we don't make it, and she said, you don't wanna think that way, she said you wanna do everything you can to possibly do it, because we can't tell you that we will give you any grace at the end of this whole thing.
Right.
She said you could lose the grant. She recommended making an agreement to buy the truck with someone now, so that we would be assured that it would be in the process to be able to get finished. They basically said, do whatever you need to do to make sure that you can make this happen.
So that's the conundrum
Mm.
we are currently in.
And that hence the meeting tomorrow.
Hence the
see
meeting
if there's
tomorrow to
any
kind of discuss
Options.
options and yeah, and
And
what
see if there's something we're not thinking of.
the problem is. Again, we've locked ourselves into the make model of the vehicle because for the grant we had to pick a specific vehicle to get the grant for. It wasn't a blanket grant. It was you submitted the grant with a make and model that we had committed to. So now you can't change make and model. It doesn't fall in under the grant. So we are obligated to get the grant to purchase this make and model of vehicle.
Which is,
It's a Mack XG40. I don't know this.
Yeah.
It's an all-wheel drive 6-wheel dump truck because we don't currently have an all-wheel drive truck in the fleet since we sold the Oshkosh 3-4 years ago. And as we know, the hills and mountains in Madison kind of require an all-wheel drive truck for safe travel as far as plowing. So that was the idea. again, Josh is, well, maybe we'll go over this tomorrow, but he did check, cause Freedom has the same truck, they bought it 2 years ago, so he went through pitfalls, likes, dislikes, as he went through kind of trying to decide which vehicle to go through, they gave good reviews. So that's kind of where we settled as far as what we were looking for. So now it's just trying to do it in a manner that's appropriate, obviously. But again, if we don't act fast, the worry is we lose the grant money, and then we're stuck holding the bag, at least, because I mean, if we don't, yeah, and the truck, right? Because if we don't improve it till, and it for some reason doesn't go through at town meeting, which I can't really see why it wouldn't, again, being that we're getting 70% of the truck value from the state, and not through it's not like a grant through our tax money, it's a grant through Volkswagen that paid the $17 billion.
Yeah, it's
the Clean Fleet
it's
Initiative,
the lawsuit
yeah.
money.
Yep. So that's where the money's coming from. Anyways, so yeah, so again, we're hopeful that we can get it kind of moving so that we don't lose the opportunity and kind of get caught holding the bag, if you will, for the remainder or what have you.
I was just looking, is it in the CIP? If it's a new truck, would it replace anything in here?
So the 2005 Peterbilt that we have, that's slated, I believe, for 2027 replacement,
Okay,
that's the one we decide, because we have two trucks, that one and the 2009, I believe, that are pre-emissions. And that was one of the things, it has to be a pre-emissions vehicle, get it off the road,
yeah.
and
So it would replace something
it would
on
replace,
here.
yeah, so it's like I said, it would be a year early slated
Yeah.
for replacement, but again, a year early and
And money.
$255,000 less.
Yeah.
And again, in another year, the cabin chassis, I believe, is $233,000 just for the cabin chassis. So in another year or two,
Yeah.
it could be up another, who knows
Could be
at this point.
300,000.
Right, exactly.
And do you get to sell the old vehicle? Or
You
do have to-
cannot sell the old
you have
vehicle,
to
so.
scrap it?
Drill a
Yeah,
hole.
right, you have to drill a hole in the motor,
Yeah.
we get the scrap fee,
Yeah.
so we are able to, but they either have to come look at it or we document the hole we bore in the block.
Videotape it
Yeah,
and pictures.
and actually forget, I think we have to like
You have to
chop the
cut the-
frame.
you have to
Yeah.
Cut the frame, right, yeah.
So you know, it's a Mac GR 44FR.
That was close.
2027 model year. And it's a Mac MP8, 455 horsepower. It's got an Allison 4500 RDS tranny and 30,000 pound rear axle and a 24,000 pound driving axle.
And it's all Greek to me.
Means it can hold a lot of weight.
Well, I did some
Yeah.
research
Yeah.
on it today, so
Yeah.
I had it in my phone so I could
Yeah.
look up all the different.
Again, it's not that it's a truck that's more than we need, because we honestly need an all-wheel drive vehicle for the hills. So, and again, you're ideally getting it for 30% of the actual cost. So it makes sense to get something that will be usable and good quality for the next 10 plus years that we have it in service.
But it's my understanding we only went to one manufacturer to get a quote on that?
So we settled on that as Mac Manufacturing,
Who's we?
the town. Josh was the one that spec'd the truck.
Okay.
Again, he could come to me and ask me what I think. I'm not the DPW director. I don't know what we need for a truck, so we placed our trust in him to find the best vehicle for what we needed. So there's two Mac distributors, one in Manchester, one in Maine. They both come from the same factory. So as far as cost, I'm assuming the cost is gonna be comparable.
But we don't know, because we didn't, again, go and get additional quotes. We got one quote.
That I don't, right,
I mean,
well,
I'm just
again,
asking
it was
what we did
submitted
and what we didn't do.
and I don't know what, again, and I could be wrong, so this is just my understanding was it's similar to buying a piece of CAT equipment. You go to Milton Cat, or you go to CAT of wherever, the cost is the same, because it's the same product coming from the same factory. Within reason, and a lot of times what they get you on is their service contract, like which service contract's better, yada yada yada. Again, I don't know. We were down to the last hour of submitting the grant cause when Linda found the grant, there was a very finite amount of time that the grant the application expired. So they did their running around, got the truck, spec'd the cost of the truck, and submitted that to the state. I don't know, but I can't imagine that going to a different distributor for the same product, you're gonna yield a large
You
difference.
know what, the issue is we don't know, cause
And I don't know,
didn't
and I
happen.
don't know if it didn't happen or not. All I know is
There's
that,
no evidence that it happened, right? There's no paper trail that shows that it happened, or
When-
am I wrong? Correct me.
When we spec'd the truck for the grant, we went to one dealership, which was the same dealership that Freedom
Freedom had
used
gone
to
through.
get their truck. So we went to them, cause we needed a number for that grant. That's the number that we went with. Since then, Josh has called the Concord, Manchester, wherever they are.
Manchester Bank, yeah.
And told them our predicament, that we have questions and we have a quote from O'Connor, and would it behoove us to get a quote from him? And he essentially said, same church, different pew, whatever you got from them, you're gonna get from me. And that they were less likely to go through all the actions and time and effort to give us a quote on something that their basically neighbor just did the same thing for, to come up with the same thing, is essentially what the salesman told to John.
But maybe a different state would be different.
Well, that is, I think from here
One's
you go
from
into
Maine,
Connecticut.
one's from New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
The next closest is Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so O'Connor is in Maine,
Oh.
Manchester Mac is in New Hampshire, and then the next Mac dealer is, I believe,
Yeah, yeah.
in Connecticut.
Do
So-
we pay sales tax on it, cause it's in Maine?
You don't have to pay sales tax, cause you pay a sales tax when you register your vehicle in that state.
Okay, sure.
So, just like if
Since we're not
I go and buy my
registered.
vehicles in Maine, cause typically
Yeah.
they have what I want, and I don't pay sales tax, cause when I register it,
It's here.
it's here. So, yes, I didn't, that information, thank you for that information.
That
Yeah.
is- yeah.
Because I knew that they were, after we kind of hit the kerfuffle with them saying they wouldn't do it pending, that Josh was gonna do some digging into whatever, but again, we're limited to that truck, because that's the truck we did the grant with. And from what I understand, the consensus was that was the truck that would best suit us, and that had the best reviews from someone who's using the truck currently.
For similar terrain.
For similar terrain, right, because they've got hills and mountains over there they've gotta do, so. Other than that, I did talk to them, I brought up to the board about what's the name of the company to do the assessing for the school? Alpha?
Oh, yeah,
Alpha, right?
yeah.
So, we would be interested in kind of talking more about what the cost would look like and if they would be willing to do, if the other town and the SAU doesn't wanna participate,
Right.
if they would do a municipality and not a school, and what the cost would look like, we were interested in kind of trying to figure that out.
Who on the school board is who's the point person for handling that, do you know?
It's really Heather Sherwood.
It's Heather
That's the
Sherwood.
point.
Well, that's easy
So
for me to get ahold of her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so are you gonna be the point person then?
Yeah, that's fine, I'll talk to Heather, I'll give her a call.
I mean, I don't get to appoint Adam, talk to Adam, make sure.
Yeah, no, and I'm sure he's fine with that,
Okay.
because I will talk with him, but I think that since I brought it, he's gonna
Yeah, she
want,
arranged the presentation, she's
so I'll-
talked to them. She
I'll
knows
reach out
the
to Heather
most.
and hopefully this week, and then maybe by next week I'll have an update on it for the selectmen meeting next Tuesday.
Okay,
And I think, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that.
well, those are,
Well, and I would say one thing, I guess, that was at our meeting is that we had a updated quote for Avatar for the new contract for the assessing, which was at 66% increase on that.
oh,
So we are reaching out to another company to see if it would, I mean, granted, it was a 5-year contract, so the numbers we got are were for 5 years, so we're gonna see if
66% increase.
yeah, it went up to
We'll have
356,000, something along those lines, from 137, 200 and
210.
10.
to 347.
Yeah,
I
something,
think.
yeah, there was a substantial increase anyways. So Linda was gonna look into, there's only, what, 2 other companies?
Very few.
Yeah, so she was gonna reach out to them and see if we could get an estimate on what their contract would look like, but we've got a deadline of December 31st
with
to-
with Avatar.
with Avatar.
But the trouble I'm running into that I haven't said aloud
Mhm.
yet is that according to the purchasing policy, this has to be a sealed bid. I just can't call them and say, hey, how much would you charge?
Right, they've gotta prepare something and
And I have to
send it.
prepare something to give to them to say, this is what my specs are and what I expect you guys to do, so there's
A little bit more
working on it.
legwork involved with
than
that.
just putting it out.
Yeah, right,
to bid.
right, it has to be through the person also, so.
Which at the
Yeah, but that was just an update on that. But otherwise, I think,
wow.
thankfully, that's it at this point.
Okay.
And that 5-year contract did include a 2030 revamp price.
Right,
which
yeah,
was in-
the
It
full,
did or
it
did
did,
not?
it
Okay.
did.
Yes, that's included in.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for him? No?
I'm just gonna, I just looked up that health trust thing, and they said that it was, a nonprofit corporation, special, I guess it provides health benefits for New Hampshire public sector employers. So
So the schools are
I would
public
think so.
Yes.
Yep.
They're governed by public employers and employees, and they're not, the reason why they are able to keep the cost low is they're not nonprofit.
Yeah, that makes me nervous, cause that's what school care was.
A
They've been
nonprofit.
around since, I guess, 85, Linda remembered that last time, I guess, too.
They have 40 years and they don't follow the same risk pool system that school care did.
Right.
We explained the whole 45 million, 115 million and all that kind of thing, and they do their own risk in a sense. They keep these money in the coffer so that they're not coming back to the subscribers and saying, hey, now
Oh,
you
by the way,
surprise, you
we
owe us
needed-
$100,000,
Right,
you know?
you owe us-
Yeah.
Give us a couple
That's
hundred.
what Habit does.
Yes, yes.
And that would, and it's written in their bylaws and everything that they've been working that way for 40 years and they will not change, is what they told us.
So it would be worth Heather's time to reach out to them.
For sure. My notes again.
Okay. Moving on. Speaking of health insurance, so I passed out to you guys. We had asked Joe to take a look at the healthcare costs and do some more analysis with regard to the 7% versus 8.5% versus 10% under the 2020, the current plan that we have, which for purposes of ease, instead of using that ABSOS 30, 60, whatever, I call it the 3K deductible plan and a 5K deductible plan, because ostensibly that's where I think some of the biggest differences lie between these two plans. And you'll see them under this, on this piece of paper. Would you like a copy? There's a copy here. Option 1 is the current 3K plan deductible, 3K deductible plan at 8.5%. Option 2 is that same plan using a 10% deductible. Option 3 is if we switched plans and went to a 5K deductible at 8.5%, and then the same, option 4 is that new plan, the 5K deductible at 10%. And so you can look to see the dental vision doesn't really change because it's a separate thing. So you can kind of not necessarily even worry about that as much. But you can see a single person plan would be $38.21 under the 8.5% for the 3K deductible. It would go to $44.96 under option 2 at 10% of the plan cost. Under option 3, with a 5K deductible plan, the employee's biweekly cost would go to $34.49 and then $40.60. I don't know why they dropped the 0 off of that. $40.60 for the 10% plan. Okay, and it shows you what the annual employee costs would be for those. There's a whole lot of numbers for all of this. And making sure that everybody understands what those numbers mean is, yeah, it is not easy. The second piece of it shows you what the increase over the 2025 employee contribution, which is what their current contribution is. This is what they would, how much their premiums would increase. At the 8.5% for the 3K deductible plan, it's a $12.77 increase. The plan itself increased over 14%. Okay, so know that there's gonna be an increase to cost no matter what, because the plan's costs all went up. So last year, where we were able to achieve the savings was because when we switched plans, the cost of those plans, that plan went down. Because there was only I don't know, maybe it was an 8%, so when you looked at the difference between the plans, you were able to achieve some additional savings. I keep forgetting to look this way that you guys are over here, sorry.
Okay.
I'll give you a kick once in a while.
There you go. With the 14% increase in premiums, you're not gonna realize that level of savings the way we did last year.
Right.
But we can achieve some savings. And where you can see that, the cost to this, where the third one that says cost to town, at the current, for 2026 rates, at the current 7.93%, the single person plan, it shows you what what these different costs are, and then the bottom line is what the cost to the town is. It would be $302,000 if we didn't move to the 8.5 or 10%. It's $297 if we move to 8.5. It's $292 if you move to 10. If you change the deductible, you then go to $269. If the deductible is $5,000 and it's at 8.5%, the cost to the town is $269, and the cost at 10% is $264. What that means is, if you go down even more, there's a $38,000 increase from last year to this year if we were to stick with the same plan using 2026 rates. If we move to the 8.5%, there's a $33,000 increase. If you move to 10%, it's only a $28,000 increase. If you move to the new plan of 5K deductible, you're looking at a $5,000 increase or a $597 increase. That's not a lot, the $597, but again, the employee would be paying 10% of the premiums, and the town would be paying 90% of the premiums, or the town would pay 8.5, or the employee would pay 8.5%, and the town would pay 91.5%.
And this doesn't include obviously the reimbursement
Correct.
for the town, for the
The health
deductible, yeah.
Right, the health reimbursement account.
Right.
So when I looked at that health reimbursement account and what, gotta find the. So currently, this is not what we budget, this is what we're obligated to. Okay, there's a difference. We only budgeted $6,000, but in reality, we are, under the 3K plan, we are obligated to the tune of $43,500. That's if every single person
Maxes out.
met more than the half, because we only reimburse up to half of their deductible. It's the first half, we only reimburse the half of the deductible. So every single person under the plan would have to get to that halfway point. I think in the history of Linda administering these plans, I don't think that's ever happened
We never went much over the 6,000 until this year.
till this year, right?
But we had to cover, half was more this year too,
Right,
for people.
right.
So,
But that's where the 3K, that's where that resides. It's 43,500. Okay, we've only expended a little over 12,000. Because the deductible is 3,000 now, right? It's currently 3,000. It's 3,000 and what's the other half?
3,000, 9,000.
3,000 and 9,000, right, so running the numbers, 3,000 for a single person, then it would be, so that would be the 1,500 you would have to pay, and then, for a family plan of 2, it would be 3,000 for each one of those people, so that's half of it,
$30,000, right?
yeah, half 1,500 times 2, 3,000. And then the other, there were 5 people in that category, and then the other 6 people were in the family plan.
Which is
so-
9,000.
Which doesn't matter how many there are, it's 9,000, so that's 4,500 times those 6 people. That all comes out to, like I said, 43,500. Now, I wasn't sure whether we only covered that deductible for the employee or whether we cover it for everybody, but we cover it for everybody, Linda said. Under the 5K deductible plan, that obligation increases to 63,500, so there's a $20,000 increase. But the savings in the plan are over 30,000, so you're still, I mean, we still have that $43,500 bogey, if you will, no matter what we do, because that's what we currently have. We can't escape that.
Right.
We don't budget for that much of it, so you're never gonna see the 43,500 in the town budget that I'm aware of, unless somebody says, no, you have to, because it's an obligation. It's an obligation, it's there, so I don't know if we have to or we don't have to, but I would have thought that we would have to, because it's an obligation, it's almost like a potential note, so to speak.
Well, I mean, if everyone hit it, yeah, then that's what we would pay.
Right.
But we've never budgeted it that way.
Right, and I mean, again, going back and looking at the cost, we've never exceeded $6,000 before. In
But
fact,
we
it's
didn't
been-
have this high of a deductible before either.
No, previously we had
$1,000 deductible, so we only had to really pay 500.
500.
So now, then you moved to
You've
3,000,
tripled
it,
so
that's
you
right.
tripled it, so.
Yeah.
So we have to pay more of that, where before, it went on to the employee
Right.
at a smaller number.
In a smaller number. So potentially then, we're looking at, if we spent 12,000 this year.
We could spend 18,000 next year potentially.
15 to 18,000, somewhere in that time, even if we spent 24,000, it still would be less than, A, what the obligation is, and B, would be less than what the premium increases are. So I think it's important to take a look at these premium increases and understand the implication to the town and weigh that against the implication to the employee.
And all the co-pays and such do go up for the employee too. From 25 to 30, 50 to 60, 25 to 30, 75 to 100, 150 to 250, along the line there too. That does increase for the employee, that's
Right. So there are additional costs to the employee, but there were additional costs when we moved to this plan as well.
Sure, I know, I just wanted to say it
Yeah.
loud.
Yeah. Regardless, insurance costs are going up. It's not gonna be easy, it's not gonna be pretty, it's not gonna be unpainful, it's painful for everyone across the country. But the fact remains that the town can't necessarily afford to continue to pay 90+% of the insurance costs for its employees, where that's just not the national standard, it's not the state standard. It's not even the town standard when it comes to the school, they pay 12%, and the school pays only 88.
Way more expensive.
What?
Except their plan is way more expensive, I'm pretty sure.
Right. So,
Yeah, I guess
you know,
it's kind of an
I'm
apples to oranges thing.
I'm in favor of moving to, either a 8.5 to 10% if it's in the new plan, the 5K deductible. Again, it'll save us some additional money from a town perspective. The increases to the employee with regard to their, the increases to their premiums, you can see it's $9, $16, $21. Those are for the,
8.5%.
Yeah, for the 8.5%, it's 15, 28, and 37 for the 10%. And those are the bi-weeklies.
Mhm.
Questions? When do the selectmen have to sign the
Wow.
choice of the rate sheet?
What I just found out was that if we wanna change plans, go from the different if we wanna change that,
Yeah,
we have to let them know that next week.
okay,
But if we wanna stay with what we have.
And then adjust what we charge them.
And
It's-
adjust
Right,
what we
then
charge.
we have until, I wanna say like mid-December.
till mid-December?
Right, cause they need time to revamp each person's cards and all that kind of stuff if we're gonna change the actual plan, cause the
Mhm.
deductibles change, all that kind of stuff. It was actually due tomorrow, and then I found that out and I got in touch with my advisor and he gave me till.
Wednesday,
It was actually, no, it was due last Friday, and he gave me till next Wednesday.
okay, so
Because
we'll,
I didn't read that paperwork, because I didn't think it was a thing. So I wasn't concerned about it, so it's not, it doesn't bother.
alright, so we'll have that
So
for
it's
our next
on,
meeting.
yeah, it's all,
So, yeah, for Tuesday. But I didn't know if the ABC wanted to have a recommendation to, I think we should, have a recommendation to the selectmen as to which plan we recommend that they go with.
No,
No what?
no recommendation.
No, you don't wanna make a
We
recommendation.
want I wanna trust the selectmen to make the correct decision.
Okay. We make recommendations on financial decisions all the time, so. Nan, what are you thinking? Any,
I'm just thinking if you stay with your current plan, I would appreciate them going to a 10%. Do you see what I'm saying? If you don't change plans. Okay. If the employee contribution was 10%. If you go to the 5K, so I'm just trying to be fair on both sides.
absolutely.
You know, so if you go to the 5K, I would be okay with an 8.5% by the employee.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think
And
that's
we can
my
make
thought.
those kinds of recommendations.
Yeah.
That we pick, that we suggest or we recommend they pick either option 2 or option 3, is what you're saying. Option 2 is the
Right,
10% if they stick with the 3K plan, or
And I'm
option
just
3.
thinking with this HMO, they seem to be happy with it. All their providers are in this network, right? I mean,
we could keep our same
Providers.
providers within
so
their plan.
that doesn't change for them. They don't have to
It's
go
just
out.
pretty much the deductible and the copays that change, everything
Okay.
stays the same.
Okay,
It's the money that changes
Right,
Okay.
as
keep our
opposed to,
same doctors and things, yeah.
right.
Can I just ask, in terms of, once you hit the deductible, what is the percent then?
On the second page there is a maximum that they're,
14,400, I think, is the maximum one.
yeah, 14,
Out of
is the
pocket.
maximum payout, per family.
Okay, that's a lot.
Right, that was, in review, when we got these numbers on Tuesday, that was our concern, is that if something was to happen, the maximum payout is substantial. It's $14,300, it's a hefty burden. Again, we were gonna discuss it more, but that was kind of, at first glance, knee-jerk reaction was,
Yeah, just
we're,
as someone who's had cancer recently, like that.
right, and that's, and especially if you're,
14,000 like that.
and you're missing work, you know, and so for someone who's, yeah.
that's the 5K, right?
that's the yes, that's the 5K.
Right.
And right now it's 10.
Yeah, maximum out of pocket, it is
So
still.
it goes up, it's still, yeah, it's 5 and 10, and then it would go to 71, 50, and 14.3.
So currently it's 500? No. What's our split with the deductible?
1,500 by the town, and then the
1,500.
employee pays the next
Yeah.
1,500.
The town
And the
pays
town pays the first?
The first
1,500. Okay. Is that in a health reimbursement account?
It is.
So if they don't use all the money, it can come over to the next year?
No, well, no, I think that would be an
That's a health-
HSA. We
health
have an
savings
HRA with the
Okay.
town,
It's a
which is,
reimbursement.
we
So it
put that
doesn't,
money aside and reimburse the
Right, budget
insurance
for
company.
it
for-
doesn't roll over to
No, it
next
doesn't, it's
year.
a line in our budget, right.
Right.
We do offer an FSA to the employees that they can do their on their own.
Right.
Where you put a little bit in for the,
Mhm.
to the amount of $1,500 a year, that's the max that we'll allow. We don't wanna be holding the bag for people who don't stay.
Oh, right,
Because
right,
if
because
you
they had
leave-
changed that rule like 10 years ago that you were eligible to, if your max is 1,500, on January 1st, you can use all 1,500.
Right, and then if you leave our employee, we're holding the bag for the rest of the year's payments.
But, right, because as an employee, you only pay 1/12 of that 1,500 in January for the first month. You only pay that 1/12, and then you use the whole 1,500 and the town's on the hook for the rest of it. So,
Right.
yeah, they changed that, that was like, that's kind of.
We got burned once, and then since then, we haven't increased it to, because we could be up around $3,000,
Yeah.
I think we can, but we've been keeping it at 1,500.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there's any way to do something where if they don't use the money, you know, obviously not with the HRA, but it could roll over so that, cause
So
my
they
understanding
accumulate
within
it?
yeah, cause then you'd have that safeguard, but then it can also be used at the end for retirement, however the employee wants to use it.
I think that's a different system than what we have.
Yeah.
Definitely, but I just,
Yeah.
it seems better for the employee if that was how that money was held for them.
But it's
I see
not,
what you're saying.
I don't
So
know,
it-
but currently with the HRA, it's not held for them, it's just an obligation on the town's part
Yeah, that they
for-
get reimbursed.
So if they,
for-
right, if they go and
Right,
break
it's
a
not for
leg,
any one
it's,
particular.
or their femur.
right, yeah, something,
Yeah.
something, you know,
They get
something
a
expensive,
$4,000 ambulance
Right,
bill.
right. that sort of thing.
That sort of thing.
So if it's not used, it just goes back to the town, whereas
Right.
if you did
Yeah.
like an FSA and you gave them $1,500, you'd have to pay out that whole $1,500 to each employee.
Right, like, and like you said, it was like $43,000 is what we were
Right.
Right. So that-
obligated to pay, so
Right,
that
so
would
you
be
do
a
that.
line item at
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
And then every year would be at that instead of 12,000 or whatever it is that we end up
Right,
paying out.
Right, right, so there's advantages and disadvantages
Right.
to both sides of that particular
Yeah.
piece of it, so, I would prefer to make some sort of a recommendation to the, but I also, I understand, so Jake, you're probably like, cause you are the select board,
Mhm.
part of the select board, so,
Yeah, I mean, I think that honestly, I get what we're trying to do, and again, like Nan said,
I know.
it's hard on both sides. So I think
Not gonna-
it's a discussion that we as a select board are obviously gonna have and consider. I mean, something's gonna change. It depends on where we land on. Like I said, the big sticker shock item for us was the maximum out of pocket change from 10 to 14.3. But again, we didn't take a lot of time to digest. We saw it and we knew that it was coming here, and we were giving it to, well, we thought Joe, but anyways, to get this kind of breakdown, so we could see something.
right,
So
and do an
and-
actual.
right, and this makes it
comparison.
very easy to digest. So
Right,
And then again, when you look at option 4, at 10%, and the employee for family plan, please.
this is the
pays-
increase,
Correct,
remember.
28.48. Compared to what a lot of people are paying now is not a lot. I mean, see, that's what I go back and forth. It's a lot because it's a new plan, so they're paying more. So.
but as far as out of
and they
pocket,
probab-
right, it's,
Right, so out of pocket, and I'm sure their pay has an increase to keep up with, but nobody's has, so I
Right.
don't know, I go round and round, and
Yeah.
I'm just, it's a tough one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's right, and that's saying obviously
There's nothing affordable about medical care.
No,
Right,
no,
right.
no,
Any
no,
medical care.
Right, right.
No.
Not in this country.
No.
We actually have 13 people that are on the dental.
That are on the dental,
Yeah, there's one person who has dental and not health.
okay, Yeah.
Just, so, I mean, that's a small,
That's,
but
yeah,
just saying it out loud, cause in the end, if whatever number we pick here is not gonna show up on the budget like that.
no, right.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, and again, like
I think if I was gonna make a recommendation, it would be the current plan at
The
the
10%.
10%. Just knowing that it's the same co-pays
And the same max out of
same
pocket.
max out of pocket, right?
yeah.
And I think
That's a compromise.
and I think that's a compromise, and again, I'm not speaking for the board, but
Right,
I would be
right.
willing to consider that compromise
Right.
instead of raising, and I know it's not a huge savings, but it's a savings,
It's a
and
start.
right, and again, like, obviously, this is a yearly discussion.
Right.
We have every year, and
Yeah.
if we decide that, again, there's another big jump next year, hopefully,
Right.
God willing, there's not a 14% increase, but
It's gonna
again,
de-
it's something we
It's gonna
can.
decrease next year.
Sure,
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes, but again, like, and I know that one of the concerns that I have, and I think is probably shared, is we have reliable, good help at the DPW and at the town, and doing a lot of shifting can cause people to look elsewhere. Not saying that would happen, but my concern, and this is just a personal concern, is that we do a lot of shifting, and then if come January 1, we lose someone because they were able to get it, even if it's a little more money, but it's a better plan somewhere
A better
else.
package, yeah.
Right, like that is kind of the concern. And again, like, something needs to be done. We can't
We can't
take on
continue
all of it. Absolutely. And,
Right,
that-
right.
and that's not at all what I'm proposing.
Right.
But, so there's that factor too, because if God forbid, someone in the middle of winter takes off because they get a better job offer somewhere else, and it has, and maybe it's largely hinged on the benefit package, then we're kind of up the creek, sans paddle, and we don't. It's something that we're trying to be budget conscious, also trying to be.
Anecdotally, though, I will
Yeah.
tell you, when I was at the school system
Mhm.
in Conway, this is a better plan. This is a better plan than what the SAU 9, are they? Nine was offering to
Mhm.
its employees.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying
No,
that
but
that's.
I'm saying,
It's
yeah,
just
I'm
trying
know
to.
that this is a good,
Yeah,
solid
no, and I don't,
plan,
and again, the
so-
plan, from what I understand, I'm not on it, but it seems fair, especially where we are, and I know there's an increase, and again, increasing from 7 to 10 would take some of the burden if we kept it here, and again, well, obviously we have to make the decision by Wednesday, so.
So,
Right, so again, this is gonna make our job
easier.
a lot easier, because we'll be able to, looking at that and trying to, and not having the raw numbers.
I'll come to the meeting on Tuesday to
Perfect.
answer any questions about this.
Awesome.
Like, what the heck did you write here? What do these numbers mean?
They'll ask me, and I'm like, well, she told me.
She said.
And
But for those of us who are comfortable, if Doug, you're not comfortable, that's fine, in making a recommendation. Deb, you were saying that you're comfortable with option 2 at 10%. Nan, is that what you were saying?
That's, yeah.
And that's.
I mean, when I look at the numbers overall, even, staying where we are at 8.5, it is so much better
We're
than-
not at 8.5.
Well,
well,
that's
if
what-
you if you
right.
stayed at 8.5 instead of
Right.
10%.
I mean, it's so much better than what the school has put out. So, I mean, or maybe that's not a good comparison, but,
Yeah, I think they're in a world of hurt. They just need to
they
figure
are
out.
in a
Right.
whole different, so I appreciate the effort that's gone into looking at the health insurance, for the town, so. No, I do, I do, so I guess if I were to I would say stay with the same plan because they all seem to be comfortable and maybe go to the 10%.
With the 3K deductible.
Yeah, and it brings them in line with,
Brings Closer to, other.
well, what the state average, but also closer to the school.
Right.
And now we just need the school to bring, look at a different plan that's a little more affordable for taxpayers.
Right. I can send you the electronics so you don't have to snap pictures of it.
Okay,
Okay.
I don't mind.
Okay, whatever you want, but
So
I
I
can
guess
send
that
you
would
the electronic version.
This way I won't
All right,
forget
so then
eventually.
we're comfortable as a board
Mhm.
in making the recommendation that they choose, that our first choice would be option 2 under the 10%.
Mhm.
With a 10%, yes?
Sure.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have to vote on that, Linda, or do?
Oh,
Okay. All right, so that's our
consensus.
recommendation.
And just to say out loud, there's no option offered by Madison, it's been was talked about a few years ago, but of an incentive for someone to maybe go on to their spouse's plan. You know, I know-
Like the school system, if you go on your spouse's plan, they pay you half the premium.
Right,
That's
so-
Dan's
and,
favorite thing.
and I know.
No.
Don't give them a percent, because a percent goes up 22%, you're gonna get 22% more of your stipend.
And,
Give it a
I
flat
mean,
rate.
we're
Give them a
talking-
couple $1,000 and
Well, we're
be
talking
done.
over 10 years ago, when I worked for a different town, it was, they would, what they, I mean, this is, you know, health insurance wasn't nearly this expensive
Right,
back then.
right.
But they would pay you the single premium, basically.
The
So-
whole thing?
Yeah, but it was only like $3,600 a year for a
Oh,
single
right,
person,
right.
you know? So you got a stipend of $300 a month in a sense, to not take the insurance because you went on your spouse's
Right.
insurance, but it had to be as good or better was part of the catch. And you had to prove that they had insurance, just couldn't just pocket the $300 and go with no insurance, you know? But, so there was that incentive to try and get people to try and look elsewhere and see if maybe it made more sense for me to take $300 in my pocket and go on my spouse's insurance, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and it would take some thought and some planning, and to be honest with you, we were talking, I was trying to think of anybody in here that has the insurance that I don't even know who would be necessarily in that position to be, I mean,
Right.
personally, I know I carry the insurance, so it wouldn't be an option, you know?
Right, right.
But it's just something too, that,
Oh, yeah.
you know, to think.
I mean, the school
Well,
has it in their CBA, I mean,
Mm.
their employees get a good, well, I'm not gonna say anymore.
Not
Good change.
kickback.
But I think that's something
Yeah.
to consider and
Mhm.
see if that makes any sense for going, I don't think we have time to obviously do that for this year, but
No,
maybe
no.
for next year, if we start looking at it kind of now and figuring out what does that look like? If there's an incentive to go on your spouse's insurance as a family plan now, or the two-person plan as opposed to two single people's plan, you know, what does that look like? What does that save the town, and how much would we be able to incentivize them to
Sure.
do that?
Right.
So-
You know, and, oh shoot, I forgot my other train of thought. Oh, and, you know, you gotta think to, this is coming to my mind. You know, at one point in my life, I needed a family plan. But now I don't need the family,
Right,
but someone else in the
exactly.
town, you know, a few years ago only needed a two-person plan, now they
Correct.
got kids, so it waxes and wanes over the thing, so
Yes.
I just making the point that I may be not getting the same benefit
Right.
in a sense as someone in the
But you
town
get
is
what you
getting.
need.
Exactly, that's
Yes.
exactly what I'm trying to say. For where the point I am in my life, I am getting what I
Right.
need.
Right.
Where that person
And-
in the town, in their point in their life, is
Right.
getting what they need. And I feel like it waxes and wanes, and ultimately,
Exactly.
it's fair, I consider it fair, that just because someone's getting an extra $10,000 in a benefit that I'm not getting, I don't feel that's unfair. I feel that's what they need to survive, and this is what I need to survive. And
Right.
so there's a fairness to it, just because
Exactly.
we're all in the same boat,
Mhm.
I guess is my.
I agree 100%.
Additionally, and I said this when my husband was a teacher, most people don't realize that a lot of people go and get this family plan through their town or their school, and their kids qualify for Medicaid, and Medicaid picks up 100% and has dental at 100%. Cause I realized that when my daughter or when my kids were little, then I had no dental, cause we didn't buy the dental from the
Right,
school because it was
right.
too expensive.
Right.
And we couldn't afford it, and then one day, when we needed a ton of dental work, they were like, you qualify for Medicaid. My kids never went back on the school thing, because I always had dental taken care of, and everything else was 100%, no deductibles, no nothing. And that's with us working 4 jobs, my kids still qualified.
I
And
did
then-
not know that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
Something
what
like
that was
a-
probably
a
10,
family of
15 years
four-
ago, I don't know what that
A
looks like
family
today.
of 4, I think you have to make over $100,000 or $110,000 to not qualify for your children.
For your children.
For your
What about for
children.
you?
Not for us,
No,
no,
right,
we
yeah,
never
it's-
qualified,
Yeah.
but for your kids, and it didn't, and my kid was gonna need thousands of dollars worth of dental work. And we didn't have the money, we didn't have, you know, and, they were like, wait a minute, you what? You know, when I brought my tax forms in, you know,
Yeah.
and we never went back up, they're still Medicaid to today. And a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, it's just another option of spouse's insurance, or your child, maybe the family isn't paying for the dental and vision, and, but Medicaid would, and their kids need glasses. Those are all like things to think about.
Mhm.
Yeah, but we don't don't have anyone who takes the medical but not the dental. But we do have people a person who doesn't take medical and does take the dental. So we have 12 medical and 13 dental.
Right.
Okay.
If you're gonna revamp that, I'll have this for the selectmen in their book.
What?
If you wouldn't mind making that to 13 dental and resending this to me, I'll put it in the
Oh,
books for
yeah, yeah,
Tuesday
yeah.
night.
Absolutely. 13 people have dental. Redo and send to Linda. And all that's gonna do is it's just gonna change this line down here, the
Yeah.
dental 12.
Just for accuracy. more
Yeah,
better
absolutely.
picture.
No, that's what, the more accurate
gone
we
this
can be,
far.
the better off.
Might as well
The more
get it.
accurate, the better off we are. Okay, thank you on that. All good questions and
Thanks for
good
pulling up.
comments and good food for thought. Not an easy subject
No.
and not an easy decision to make because, we know how expensive it all is. All right, CIP update. We have a meeting on Thursday. We'll go through. We got all of, I think most of them, except for Bob. I gotta talk to Bob. I don't think Bob Boyd understands fully or maybe we didn't communicate correctly. But we didn't get anything from him, and his response was, well, I'm not planning on replacing anything next year. It's
I
like,
think he did email it to you today.
no, more?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'll find out from her what he said, because I said, I'm happy to go down to the town hall and just have a face-to-face chat and
Yeah,
explain.
They CC'd me on it, but I didn't really absorb it. So,
It's okay. Anyway, so we've been methodically working our way through. We had developed some templates for projects, remember, like you saw them, projects or replacement vehicles and equipment and that kind of thing. We needed to revamp those sheets a little bit based on some feedback and based on some, additional information. The biggest key that we've been giving people, or the biggest piece of information, is that be as specific on those templates as you possibly can. If you know the make and model number of the vehicle you're gonna replace a vehicle with, you want like for like Chief says Chevy Tahoe Cruiser. He wants to replace a Chevy Tahoe Cruiser with a Chevy Tahoe Cruiser. Okay, that's perfect. And then, if there's anything for outfitting it and putting the decal on it that says Madison Police, that kind of stuff. And I sat down with Josh and Dave Swift at the DPW for probably 2 hours and went through some of the things that they could do and how they could approach this and how best to capture all of the information, and have volunteered to come back and sit down with them any number of times for them to be able to put together the information that they need, put together the information that we're looking for to be able to make some, here's what it's possibly gonna cost us in these next 10 years with regard to, equipment, vehicles, that kind of stuff. One of the things, we have so many vehicles. For such a small town, I never realized how many vehicles we have. It's a lot. And when we move vehicles or change vehicles, trying to figure out and understand which vehicle is which and when it was, what it was. So we may have a couple questions for you, Linda, when we're done, because of the police cars. There were like 2013's 2015, the 2019 Dodge Charger, then there's 1 year where we acquired 3 vehicles. In 2022, we acquired 3 vehicles, yeah. a 2021 Chevy Tahoe from the guys in Pennsylvania, the Silverado, and then there was another 2022 Chevy Tahoe. And we're trying to figure out, where did the money come from? How did we saw 2 warrant articles, but we didn't see a third warrant article, so we don't necessarily know how that money came about. And so, yeah, so we may have questions for you so that we can understand if we still owe money on anything, and or we're pretty sure we paid all of it except for the newest acquisition, the newest one being the one this year, 2025. So I think everything else might be paid for, but yeah. But, knowing that and being able to space it out and understanding that is key. So I'll let you know more after Thursday. Right? Was there anything in the drawdown review or the revenue reports or the fund? Thank you for updating the fund balances.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what I.
She's like, I don't understand. But yeah, for updating those. And I went through, I didn't go through it with a fine tooth comb, I went through it. There was some, I'm a little, I don't want to say concerned, but we're 88% of the way through the budget. And we're pretty close to 88% of the way, 88% of the way through the year. And we're pretty close to 88% of the way through the budget. And so, looking at all of the, can you do me a favor though too? On this expendable trust fund summary, can you put a total at the bottom for the different columns? That way, you'll know at the 2024 year end, we started all of the funds together at 424,000. We added 256,000 at the 2025 town meeting. Actually, technically 257, because it's 256,997. That gave us $681,000 in these trust funds. We've expended 139, so 54% of what we added, we've expensed, and it leaves us with $451,000 in the expendable trust fund from an aggregate level. Obviously, we can't spend just $541,000. It has to be spent according to the.
No, and some of it, we're trying to beef up, like the Silver Lake Dam improvement one. This year, they're slated to put $100,000 in it, because it's gonna cost us at least 100. The estimate we got to do just the engineering work was 166,000.
156?
66.
166?
Anywhere between 700 and $1 million to do work.
Right.
And that was what proposed
2-3 years
2-3 years ago.
Hmm. I'm ready to go to with the other drawdown, please. I had 1 or 2 questions, and that was it on it. Does anybody have any other questions about the drawdowns? Oh, here it is. Oh, I was looking at the building inspector, and he has $2,500 in supplies, and he spent all of $425.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. That was for his code books.
Code books.
Right,
And I don't know what he had to buy or if he has to buy any this year or not.
so maybe there's an opportunity there for him to reduce that $2,500.
The problem is when he buys the code books, they're like $1,400 a piece.
Oh, that's right.
So every time, and if it's not, they change the codes. It's not like if they do it every year. Sometimes they do it every year. Sometimes they do it, and maybe they change the electrical code this year and they don't adopt the new building code. So it's kind of one of those.
Yep. I already asked Chief about the 5,000 for training. I'm crossing my fingers for the DPW guys that November, the rest of November and December don't yield any type
Quiet.
of having, that it stays quiet. Not that I think they could do any road improvements. I think they're done being able to grade, aren't they? I mean, my driveway is pretty damn hard. There's no way I'm getting any kind of stakes through it, so I don't know that you can drive a road grader across
No.
Bickford Road.
The ground is definitely not frozen.
No, I mean, like I said, I think at this point, just driving around, everything seems like it's pretty well tuned up to where it can be. I mean, the problem is we've been getting rain, so that as soon as we get rain, you get potholes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't see anything that, everything that I look at, you know, like I'm looking at the notices for the or the stuff for the ZBA at 172%, we know that that's because of the tower. The legal fees, 285%, that's because of the tower. And the notices for ZBA is all recoverable because the applicant gets charged for those notices
Right.
going out, and it goes back into the general fund, so. All right. Anybody have any other questions? Budget guidance, let's move to budget guidance development.
Just quickly say, I sent
Oh,
you
wait, yeah,
the-
you sent that.
Your revenue report, and I just gave you what I actually, what the state of New Hampshire, the IRA used as numbers for 2025 taxes is what this sheet is all about.
So, and thank you for pointing that out.
And I figured that was better than my guesstimates.
So I didn't understand, if we go to page 3 of 4, where it says from capital reserve funds and from trusted fiduciary funds,
Yes.
it only shows $10,000 coming from trusted fiduciary funds. I know it's an estimate for the year, but,
Well, no, but actually, these are right, real numbers. The $10,000 was the $10,000 with the forest maintenance account. Remember, we asked to use up to $10,000 of the forest maintenance account for the
Right.
Conservation Commission, so that's where that got,
but we,
Put in there.
so,
they tell me where to put this.
so where does all the other money that we take out of the expendable trust funds, where does that go? Because we've used $139,000.
It goes to the trustees.
Right, but where is that reflected
Well,
in
these are
this?
revenues, though, so those aren't revenues.
They're not.
Revenues is money that we're
Yeah, that's our
getting
expenditures.
in to pay. We give that money to the trustees to hold for us, so it's not really.
So where did then this $10,000 come from?
That was the forest maintenance account money. It really didn't go anywhere. We just said,
Moved it from
well,
one account to
eventually, we'd
another.
like to use this money, so we had to reflect it somewhere, that we could have potentially used it. But I know we didn't use all of it. So, that's where the state of New Hampshire told me to put it.
Okay.
And the $5,000, is the $5,000
Yeah, for the capital reserve fund.
that was for the capital reserve fund, right, the conservation fund.
Conservation. Okay, I'm not to think about that. And this only shows $9,896 of the fund balance to reduce taxes.
Where are you?
I'm on the last page, 4 of 4.
Four.
4 of 4, yeah.
Yes, and this was before we set the tax rate, so that's not reflected there.
Okay, so, but, I mean, is there a better way to put that number in there? Because historically, we've used always at least $200,000.
We used 300 this year, yeah.
Yeah, but we.
But they used
yeah, they.
300. By we, I
You
mean
could
you.
use more.
Well-
But,
Well, so we used, do you know where the other money went? The proposed.
Proposed,
So we had about 700,000 that we could use, so we used 300, and I proposed that we took the 400,000 and did a warrant article to buy this truck out of the unreserved fund balance, to not have to raise and appropriate through taxation, to buy the truck, the $355,000 truck. So where the money's already been we already have the money, it's already been taxed there. We can purchase the truck outright, no interest, no lease agreement.
Mm-hmm.
We get reimbursed $255, so that goes back into the unreserved fund balance when we get the money from the state.
Right.
So that way we can purchase the truck with no taxation increase for the vehicle. That was the reason that,
So why can't we do that this year then? Why can't we do that now?
what do you mean?
Vote, you need a town vote to do that?
Yes,
Okay, do we have enough time to do a town vote?
We needed a special town meeting, and you have
Right.
to have an emergency.
and it's not an
And the court
emergency
has to say you
situation,
It's not an
right?
The court has to say you
That's-
can do it.
That,
yes,
right,
That's what I
we've discussed, but with that result, our kind of the feeling between us with the special, they probably wouldn't grant us the special
The
meeting.
ability to have a special
Right.
meeting.
So, again, thus
Yeah.
landing us in the kerfuffle we are.
Yeah.
So that line, yeah, you see fund balance, for some, neither Michelle at DRA nor I knew why that $9,896 was there. So we subtracted it, so if you see where it says state adjusted, it is actually zero that we reported on this form that we used a fund balance.
Okay, but that was before we set the tax rate
Exactly.
and used that.
This is the last step before she,
Okay, but
That's
again,
me.
my point is, we have used part of that fund balance to pay down the tax rate every year that I've been
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
So why couldn't we take an average and put that number in there?
This is
It
actual
is-
numbers from the state though, right?
you mean in that reduced, Michelle and I don't have the ability to decide that, the selectmen have to decide how much money
Yeah,
goes in.
no, I know.
So it can't go, this form is done by Michelle and I before we get we're
Tax
able to
rate.
pass it along to the selectmen to do that math.
For an actual number, but these are estimated numbers. Are you not allowed to put an estimated number in there that hasn't been approved by the selectmen? I'm saying, we
I
did
see what you're
400
saying.
one year, 300 another year, 250 a year before, the average on that is $275,000. We use the estimate of
I-
275 to put in there to more accurately reflect.
Sure, and I suppose I would have the authority to give her a number to put in there where it is all estimated, but
Yeah,
I don't think it's my place. I think the selectmen should decide even an estimated number to throw in there. Because I think that way, when the selectmen look at this, they look at that and they say, okay, there's $1.3 million in fund balance, how do you wanna deal with this? And they just take it from there and make all the decisions, and I didn't influence anything or anything. Ultimately, it works the same whether you do the math on this paper or you do the math at the meeting.
so then normally there's just zeros in there?
In that fund
In
balance
that
to reduce.
fund balance to reduce taxes?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the way I usually do this form. I don't give them a number to put in there.
Somehow that just
Yeah, neither one of us know where that came from.
magically popped
know.
in there, right? Poof. Okay, that's all the questions I had on this.
So that was the
Thank
reason
you
for
for
that.
this.
It's a little more
Yeah.
as was reported.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Any issues that we haven't covered? Any concerns? Okay. The budget guidance piece, again, I'm going to the meeting on the first, and we'll go through the budget, hopefully line by line with them, to see and have the same type of scrutiny on their budget with the department heads and Linda have had to put up with here every year, and see where additional reductions can be squeezed out of budgets.
Yeah, and I personally have asked for some numbers were asked for at the last board meeting, so if you wanna watch it on TV, I've watched it a couple times. You can see what kind of information was requested. I've also sent an email to Mike, so there is gonna be more information to back up some of the things in the budget at this next board, but I would encourage you, I know they were setting the budget, I think today, the agenda today. But if you have specific questions, to let them know ahead of time so that they're prepared to answer them, they appreciate that.
Yeah, nobody likes being blindsided by questions that they can't answer, or have to go research to answer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as far as department heads go and the department budgets, one of the, from my perspective, one of the things that I'm, I don't wanna say concerned about, but that I'm looking at, so to speak, is pay increases and pay percentages and things of that nature. Again, I said earlier that the, you know, the cost of living increases, so to speak, because those aren't really, they're not really, there's no promotions in there that I can tell, and there's no necessarily larger pay increase. We're not increasing somebody's pay by 10 or 20%. They're all, most of them are in the 3 to 4 range. But the cost of living allowance and cost of living increases and stuff are all under 3. They're all down in the 2.8, 2.7 range. I would hope that the department heads would take a look at that and be more in line with that. The other thing that I think is important and probably has to happen at some point is that I call it salary inflation. So you're a let's call somebody an admin clerk, you know, where literally they file and do that kind of stuff. How much should that job, based on its requirements, pay? It's between X dollars an hour and X dollars an hour. Well, sometimes over longevity, you hired a person in, and now they've been in that job for 20, 30 years. They're going to price themselves out of that position because we continue to give them, even if it's moderate and modest 2.8% increases, you start to add that up over 10 years. They're now a clerk that's in a job that makes, and I'm completely making stuff up, between $20,000 and $40,000 a year. They're now making 45, or 47 just because they've been in the job so long. We have to take a look at, and I don't know if the town already has those. I think we talked about this last year, but never quite got to it. One of the things that I'm really interested in seeing happen is not just the performance evaluations, but seeing what the organization chart looks like, where all of the actual existing positions reside within, like how many, I'm gonna pick on the DPW because they're like the biggest department. How many positions do they actually have? Do they have 12 positions and 4 of them are mechanics and 5 of them are technicians and 7 of them are guys who clean up the side of the road? I don't know what they're called. What does that look like? How many are you supposed to have? Is that not enough? And do we need to do an evaluation and a requirements matrix and decision to figure out, no, they actually, to cover everything that we want them to cover, they actually need another position in that. And the same thing for the office upstairs and for the library and for any other department within the town. Where are the positions, so that we're not having department heads come to the selectmen saying, I want to hire this person, I want to hire a person to do this job. And it's like, well, where is that job? We don't have that job in the organization chart. So, oh yeah, I'd like to add that position, and here's what the cost benefit analysis of doing that. And there's a process then for how we do it. And along with each one of those jobs and the requirements in the job description is a salary range or a wage chart that goes with those positions, so that when you hire somebody for a position that's between $10,000 and $30,000, you want to hire them in at $20,000. That's fine. They have background and experience to warrant that. But then in 3 years, they're not now pricing themselves out of, so to speak, out of that job. And we're now paying somebody $35,000 to do a max $30,000 job. So I don't know how that happens specifically within the town. I don't know if that's a
selectman.
Well, it's definitely a selectman, a selectman decision and a selectman discussion. But I think, and I don't know if that's an ad hoc work group that sits down and starts to pull all of that together. But I think for the future of the town, that kind of has to happen. I mean, every organization does those kinds of things in order to keep the organization viable and moving forward. and relevant, that you've got the right skills and the right positions for the right jobs, because over time, stuff changes. So, you know, I would, the guidance I would provide back to the selectmen is that I'm interested in seeing something along those lines start to take place and start to happen, so that as we get these budgets, we can look at them and say, okay, a 3.5% pay raise is appropriate, because that keeps that position still within that job range, kind of thing. So, anybody else have any? Yes, no, maybe? I feel like I did a lot of talking tonight, you guys did.
That's what we do here for. You listen to you talk.
Stop it. All right, anybody else? It's 20 after 9.
Oh, wow.
No. No? Okay. So then, there being no further business before the ABC, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second? Okay, all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Okay. Meeting is over at 9.